Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the City of Satellite Beach. This is a regular meeting of the City Council. The date is June 20th, 2012. The time is 6 p.m. And I'd like to turn it over to Councilman Billman for the pledge and then Chaplain Booth for the invocation.
Oh, please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Chaplain. Mr. Mayor, can I take a moment of privilege to thank the city?
Certainly.
I'd like to, on behalf of our police department, as police chaplain for almost the last 20 years, I want to say to the mayor, the council, all our department heads, you guys did a great job of standing with the department on the 20th anniversary of the memorial for the Hartman and Flagg family. So it couldn't have been done without the whole city coming together. It was the largest turnout we had. And so I just want to say thank you on behalf of the department. Okay?
Thank you, Chaplain.
And Michael, I have to salute you and thank you for 27 years of service to our city. Let's pray here. Father God, I thank you tonight for this city of Satellite Beach. Lord, I thank you that though we have different opinions on things, different political persuasions, different genders, different religious backgrounds, Lord, we have a lot of differences in the room. However, we have one thing in common. We are all fearfully and wonderfully made. And Lord, we're made in your image and in your likeness. And so, God, we ask you, because we're part of the same family, that you would facilitate our understanding of what you are wanting for our city. Lord, we again, as we would petition you in every meeting for wisdom, your word reminds us that if any of us lack it, to ask you for it. And so we do that anticipating your answer. Lord, we ask that you would give our city leadership great understanding and great wisdom and strategy to chart a course for this community. Lord, we acknowledge that there are those in this room tonight, some elected and others, Lord, who have been tasked and hired and salaried to do jobs. Lord, that they would be good stewards of the responsibility that has been entrusted to them. And Lord, as our elected officials represent us, as our mayor and our council represents this city of 10,000 people, we ask, God, that you would grant them the stewardship of managing and overseeing this community. And Lord, there's a great entrustment involved in leadership. We all know that. And so we would ask, God, that that entrustment, Lord, would be that each one of us that has leadership responsibilities in this community, whether we're pastoring a church or being a chaplain or being a police chief, whether we're a department head of any of the agencies in this community, whether we serve on this council, God, we need you. We need the help that you bring. And Lord, I thank you that we have a long tradition in our nation of asking you for help. And Lord, as you've had me stand at the USS Arizona Memorial just a week or so ago in Pearl Harbor, Lord, I couldn't help but feel the prayers and the heart cries of so many who have served our nation and paid that ultimate price. Thank you, God, that you're in our national life and that you're in the life of this community. And so we offer this prayer, and I offer it as a Christian pastor in the name of Jesus. And I thank you for the opportunity, Lord, that we might gather and assemble as citizens tonight in Satellite Beach. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chaplain. Excellent. Thank you. Several things on the agenda tonight. The first is city manager transition. And we have three items: a separation agreement, an ordinance, and then a resolution. And I'd like to take those in order as they are. Then we will take a couple of minutes break, probably 10 minutes. I hope you saw kind of the cake when you came in, a token to Mike for everything that he's done, his 27 years. And Chris Crotty's here tonight. First meeting ever. So,
And I think her last.
and she's here for the cake. So with that, the first agenda item is separation agreement. Mr. Karate.
Thank you. The city attorney has put together a separation agreement based upon the contents of ordinance number 1056 and the typical type of issues that are commonly associated with the separation agreement. And we're available to answer any questions. I did provide a brief summary of each of the pertinent sections of the agreement, and the city attorney is available to answer any questions the council may have as he acted as your counsel in this matter.
Thank you. Well, let me bring it back to the council for discussion. Anything? I read it. Okay. Any public comment on separation agreement as it reads? All right, let me bring it back to the council for a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I realized when I was coming over here, there was one item that I forgot to change because there weren't any comments to add anything to it. On page 6 of the agreement,
Okay.
paragraph 11,
Okay.
I have 1, 2, 3, and then 4 the Ys, and there was nothing before the Ys, so it just needs to be a period after proceedings and the word and before the 3.
That's it, right there. That's it, Jim?
That's it. I didn't get any other comments from council, so.
That's pretty good. We'll bring it back for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that that council approves the separation agreement as written.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Billman, second by Vice Mayor Rhodes. Lenore?
Councilman Amin?
Yes.
Councilman French?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilman Billman?
Yes.
Mayor Ferrante?
I'd just like to say one thing, that I didn't agree with the separation agreement the first time, but I am going to vote yes on it this time because I think it is best for two of our greatest citizens of Satellite Beach. And it's okay with Mike, it's okay with us. I think it's good. And Chris, okay with you? So I have to vote yes, and just for the two premier citizens that Mike and Chris are, Satellite Beach. So, motion passes unanimously. Public hearing, ordinance number 1056, Mr. Beadle.
Ordinance number 1056, an ordinance of the City of Satellite Beach, Brevard County, Florida, amending Chapter 46, Article 2 of the City of Satellite Beach Code of Ordinances, Pension Plan for General Employees, Section 46-33A, Sub 1, to allow members who have attained the age of 59 years with 25 or more years of credited service as of June 1, 2012, to be eligible for normal retirement benefits, provided an application for normal retirement is submitted to the Board of Trustees within 10 days following the adoption of this ordinance, providing a severability clause, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. It's the second reading of ordinance number 1056.
Thank you, Mr. Karati.
This is second reading. First reading was held on June 6th. I have no additional information regarding ordinance number 1056.
Thank you. Bring it back to the council.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 1056 in the second reading, which amends the general employees pension plan in accordance with the details provided in the separation agreement. I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman French, second by Vice Mayor Rhodes. Is there any public opinion on ordinance number 1056? Sir?
I just had a question on it. Skip Bollinger, resident. I noticed just in the language here, it says repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith. That since this is a special event type of thing, it is the language, and a question for Mr. Beadle. Does this language impact the normal retirement language that would be applicable to other employees? I just
Good question.
was curious about that. Thank you.
Any other public comment? All right, thank you. I'll bring it back, and I'll bring it over to Mr. Beadle.
My understanding is that Michael is the only person that this provision will actually apply to. And as a result, there are no other inconsistent ordinances. The provision regarding inconsistent provisions is just a boilerplate that's generally included in every ordinance that we do.
Okay.
And the provisions added to this ordinance expire July 1.
Right. Thank you. All right. Lenore, we have a motion and a second.
Councilwoman Dean.
Yes.
Councilman Billman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rhodes.
Yes.
Councilman French.
Yes.
Mayor Ferrante.
Yes, and ordinance passes unanimously.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank the council for the fairness and respect shown to me during this transition period. My wife Chris and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike,
Thank
for your
you.
professionalism.
Thank you. You're not done yet.
Oh, I'm done.
So you don't want to do, wait a minute.
Oh, I have no input on the next.
All right, agenda item number 3C is resolution number 918. Mr. Beadle, can you read the resolution, please?
Resolution 918, a resolution of the City of Satellite Beach, Brevard County, Florida, naming what is known as the Sunrise property, the Michael P. Crotty Park, providing an effective date.
Thank you, and I'll bring it back to the council.
I think it's a great idea. And I'd like to make a motion that the council approve resolution 918 as written.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Billman, second by Councilwoman Dean, and do I have any public comment on this resolution?
No.
Good evening, Gabe.
Gabe Fine, long-term resident. Michael, I get emotional at times. Thank you for your service, 27 years. You have implemented many, many policies that previous council members requested and the citizens requested of Satellite Beach. We honor you. We thank you. You've been an inspiration to Satellite Beach, and you cannot be replaced. You are the ultimate gentleman, the ultimate professional, and the ultimate statesman. And again, I thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on the resolution? All right, at this time, I'd like to bring it back to the council, and we have a motion and a second. Lenore?
Councilman French.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rhodes.
Yes.
Councilwoman Dean.
Yes.
Councilman Billman.
Yes.
Mayor Ferrante.
Yes, and a resolution passes unanimously. I would like to...
Cheryl, thank you for
You're welcome.
suggesting this, and council, thank you for doing it.
I'm going to give you a chance here, 1 minute. I just want, just wanted to say a few things. We are going to break for about 10 minutes to have some cake. And Carrie, but I would like to say the community is going to celebrate Mike's retirement at a public event Friday, July 27th, from 5 to 8 p.m. right outside here. Okay? And Carrie asks that tickets will be available. There is no fee. There is no fee. However, at the office beginning on 7/1. Carrie, is that your office? Is that your office, the tickets for this? Any city department. And the reason, we just need a head count for the food that we're going to have. So you can bring a ticket or bring that. And I'd like every member of the council, I know I like to say, Mike, Godspeed. I've been here since 2002. It's I tried to call you tonight. You didn't answer the phone. I guess you're not going to answer anymore. So that's it. I don't know. I got to call Ann now. And but Mike and Chris, thank you for everything you have done since you have been here. You are the best. And other members of the council, would you like to say anything?
I was joking with Mike earlier. I said, what are you going to do tomorrow? I would sleep in, but he doesn't know he can. And to Chris, thank you. We're going to also throw a party when the sign is done for the park and invite the community there and have a little celebration too. He said it was one of his favorite places in Satellite Beach. His favorite place in Satellite Beach. So thank you for your hard work.
Yeah, thank you, Mike, for your service. It goes way back before most of us in this room have been here, and the community is outstanding, and we all appreciate everything you've done for us.
Mike, thanks a lot. You handled this professionally, as you handled the city over the last 27 years, and for that, I appreciate it. And take my advice, go sailing for 4 months, don't do anything else. Don't look at a paper, don't look at a watch, just go.
Mike, thank you. My wife does not want me to tell you how old she was when you became the city manager. But she was born and raised here, and without question, your service and dedication here is completely unmatched, and I can't thank you enough for what you've done.
Thank you. And you have the final say.
Well, you know, I'm a person of few words, but last night I had a couple emails that I had to finish. So after Chris and I finished cleaning out my office, we went for a sandwich. So about 6:30, I was going to do the emails as I was sitting and eating my sandwich, and I was already blocked from my city account. I just want to thank the Satellite Beach community who has given me and my family the unique opportunity to thrive in the environment that is known as Satellite Beach. It is an opportunity that a city manager can only dream of having, and I've lived that dream for 27 years. I've always felt valued as a city employee here in the city of Satellite Beach. We have made many friends, and again, I just want to thank everyone, the current council, the past council, and all my friends in the community for this incredible experience that the Crotty family has had in Satellite Beach. And to Chris, I love you.
We're going to take about 10 minutes and have a piece of cake. Please, Carrie is cutting it. You can go outside. Your seat is reserved. And come up and say...
Just initial that process.
Thank you very much. And at this time, I'd like to introduce the interim city manager, Mrs. Ann Samuelson. And Ann, welcome. Ann is going to wait. Agenda item number 7 is her report, and at that time, she will introduce herself and talk about her goals and objectives. Okay, you're welcome, and welcome. Thank you. Agenda item number 4 is introduction of guests. Is there anyone here that hasn't been here before that would just like to stand up and introduce themselves? All right. So with that, I'd like to get into citizens' comments. There are a few things I'd like to say before citizens' comments, just some general comments on my own. This is our business meeting, and we try to conduct a good business meeting, and we encourage you to participate through citizens' comments. But I request that, and these are from Robert's Rules of Orders, so it's not me making this up, but that any of your comments focus on issues and not personalities. And then also, Robert's Rule says avoid questioning motives. So issues, and then you should address your remarks to the chair, which is me, please. And then the last one that Robert's Rule said is that your comments should be civil and polite. And like I said, we encourage them. I know with an election coming, sometimes citizens' comments can be just for an election or something, but that's not it. This is our business meeting. Help us with our business meeting. And I know that I just appreciate your understanding of this, these statements that I make, and I thank you. And so, with that in mind, I have 6 people who would like to make comments. Remember, we are filming on YouTube, and so that I'd ask you to say your address, but you don't have to. When you come up, if you could just say your name, and if you'd like, you can say your address, but just Satellite Beach resident or non-resident will suffice. That way people don't get your address from there. Okay, the first comment is Mr. John Baker.
Mr. Mayor,
Sir?
after your address, I have nothing to say.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Theodore Baker.
Mr. Mayor and Council, good evening. My name is Theodore Baker. I am a resident of the city of Satellite Beach. My reason for coming in tonight is that I am mentioned in an email. My profession is mentioned into an email. I have not been involved with actions in the city of Satellite Beach prior, and my question to the council is, why?
Sir, I am not sure. If you could give the email to the city clerk.
I'll be very happy to provide the copy to that.
I'm not sure, sure, the email, we get hundreds of emails.
Okay.
I'm not sure what that one is, but if you could give it to the city clerk, she will give it to the city manager and myself, and then we can answer you tomorrow. I hesitate to look at it tonight, but you want to know why you are addressed on there.
Well, yes, sir, there were some comments there, and sticking with what you said earlier, and I'm trying to adhere to the decorum and the respect of the council. The email was inflammatory, to say the least, to be brought into it with my profession and not even be involved with anything with the city. As a resident now also, it is very irritating, and I'm trying to be very respectful and stick to order, but I'm confused, and I don't understand where name calling is appropriate, whether it's here or through an email or otherwise. As you mentioned earlier with Robert's rules, respect is very important, and that people do their job to try to make things better, and this particular email didn't. I do consider it inappropriate that I was dragged into it, and again, I'm confused. So if you would let me know who I need to give my copy to, I'll be very happy.
I apologize if that happened, but we will we'll look at it tomorrow after them, and then get back with you. Do you have your phone? Could you put your phone number on there, please?
I will be happy to.
Thank you.
Ditto here. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Our third is Mr. Steve Headley.
Members of the City Council, Mayor Ferrari. Beachcaster's done. Wait.
Introduce.
No problem.
Okay,
Steve Headley, 343 Lee Avenue, which is well inside the city bounds. I'm a resident. Okay. Beachcaster's done. Everything's done, including July and August. Just waiting for content. There's no doubt the development of the Beachcaster into this format was my idea and my work. The letter I just handed to Mr. Beadle asserts that ownership. When I first took on this job, it was with the hope that the Beachcaster would serve as a bridge between warring political factions of the city. However, I've come to believe that the foundation of the Beachcaster, that of freely transmitting ideas and information, is contrary to the beliefs of some of the members of the council itself. While I stood before you and made this claim before, recent events have brought this to light even more. This past Thursday, a friend of mine received an email from Vice Mayor Scott Rhodes in which Councilman Rhodes labeled my friend as a coward. In addition, Mr. Rhodes' email contained that which can and was perceived as a threat. Mr. Beadle now has a copy of that email. What did my friend do to warrant such an email? He spoke his mind on the blog. Yeah, my friend is the blogger A. Afterwit of Raised on Oatcakes. There's little doubt in my mind the email sent by Councilman Rhodes via his official city email account has a chilling effect on free speech within the city concerning the decisions of the city council. The fact his attitude is echoed by other members of the city council puts an even greater chilling effect on the political speech by citizens. I am therefore left with a difficult decision. I entered into this project with the hope of helping to unite the city. That hope was based on the idea that factions wanted to be united. It is a hope that cannot be realized under threats made by council members against citizens. My decision is therefore to take my product and ideas home, effectively barring the city from the use of the Beachcaster in the magazine format. This is not a decision that I have reached lightly or without the advice of council and others. Ultimately, the decision is mine and mine alone. I know this will be perceived as some by childish or immature, but I cannot think of another way to illustrate to the members of the City Council how your attitudes concerning political speech are contrary to that which I hold dear. You simply cannot say we want a great method of communication in the Beachcaster and then seek to shut down those who communicate their disagreement with you. I won't support it. Not here, not now, not ever. Thank you.
Lee?
Can you pass that down? Yeah. Do we give that to clerk? The email?
He didn't submit
I'll
it.
give it to Jim.
No.
You give it to Attorney Beadle. Yeah. That's what he said.
Copy.
Put it in the
Okay. Okay, fourth is Mr. Gabe Fine.
Mr. Chairman, Gabe Fine, long-term citizen. Mr. Chairman, my first request is for council members to please speak into the microphone. When you turn away from the mic to speak to a fellow council member, those mics are very directional. I cannot understand what you hear, what you're saying. And mostly, it's my hearing aid's fault and my hearing impairment problem. Women's voices are very difficult for me to understand. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah, we got
I have the same problem with men's voices.
How do you get
My
that
hearing
done?
Okay, you can stop right there, Gabe. I think we could,
Is there an operation for that?
here. All right.
I've been married 49 years, and I found out first thing I found out was that I'm always wrong. There's no question about that. Okay, anyway, I have a full 5 minutes that I was going to talk about tonight. This is Michael's night. I will not inject negativism into tonight's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabe. We appreciate it. Mr. Kinberg.
Ed Kinberg, Satellite Beach president. Actually, I signed up because I saw Mr. Feinstein ahead of mine and wanted to be able to respond to what comments he would make. And as he noted, he's not going to introduce negativism, and I thank him for that. But I do want to comment on the gentleman's comments about free speech and showing. You know, it's a two-way street. Just because you're on city council doesn't mean you give up your right to respond to comments. I don't know what this blog entry was that Councilman Rose responded to. There's been positive ones, there's been negative ones. But he doesn't abandon his rights to respond. And what the former publisher of our newsletter is saying is that I will only publish stuff if a blog in it is free to be used to criticize, challenge, attack city council members, but I will not allow city council members to respond to anonymous, unspecified complaints in it. That I will not allow. And I don't agree with it. I've always felt that you are a coward if you won't stand up for what you say. If I have something negative to say to somebody, I'll say it, and I'll sign my name to it, or I'll just stuff it down my own throat and not let it out. So I find that very disturbing for a gentleman to show up here as an advocate of free speech and claim that and demand that speech be restricted. I would also note, I know the city council knows this, but I believe that the gentleman's work is as a work for hire, even though he's not paid for the city. The city owns the Beachcaster. The format of a double-spaced thing is not something you own, and to attempt to claim ownership of something you did as a city as a public service is, to me, an embarrassment and a disgrace to the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I also wanted to thank you for your comments about Robert's Rules of Order. Even though I think
Yes, sir. Our last is Joel Sugars.
Joel Sugars, longtime resident. What I want to talk about is the business of Satellite Beach. You guys are doing the business of Satellite Beach. And the reason I wanted to talk about it is I've heard a lot of comments out of people, not here tonight, I'm just talking about on the street. I call them the Publix comment, not public, but Publix. It's the little old ladies walking down the aisles of Publix. They talk about how long the council meetings are, and they talk about this, and in one of the previous council meetings I heard people saying, why are they talking about all this? Well, they're talking about this because this is the boardroom of Satellite Beach. We just allowed the public in the boardroom of Satellite Beach. You guys are restricted on what you can talk about outside this boardroom by the sunshine laws. So by getting down and talking about minutia that's going on in the city, you're doing the business of the city, which is what you were voted in to do. The citizens of Satellite Beach have to understand that. They're sitting in the boardroom of Satellite Beach because you guys are not doing city business outside or right here. And that's what the sunshine law is. And I hear all kinds of comments about, like I said, the length, what you talk about. And I've heard people say, look, it's Mr. Steele standing up in front of you guys before, talking about the way you guys are doing things. Well, you're doing things that way because it's the boardroom, and you have to ask those questions. And in doing that, the public gets to see what the issues are. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank everyone for their comments tonight that have signed up, and I really appreciate it, and we are ready to have just a great meeting, so thank you very much. City Council comments, Councilman French.
Greg? Well, we had a great, yeah, that's okay. I get called other things. Had a great retirement party for Mike over at the house. Had the most of the council there.
I'm sorry.
And most of the department heads, and it was a very good night. A lot of camaraderie going on there, and I thought it was a sign of success that the guests of honor didn't leave. They were the last ones to leave, and it was relatively late into the evening, and all my Diet Cokes were gone.
That happens.
So anyway, it was a great time.
Thank
Wish
you.
could have made
Thank you for doing that. Sorry. Councilwoman Dean.
Welcome, Ann. And I know we are here to do business, but there is one thing I would like to say, and I've been very gracious about some of the things that have come to me via mail and via email. We are viciously attacked, all of us, constantly, via email, by other methods, and it becomes intolerable at some point. And yet some people have the nerve to come up here and stand when we email back, and it's directed. And I've talked to the city manager about this. I will talk to the new city manager about this. I've talked to the police. Very, very gracious about some of the things that have happened to us and our families, not only during the past election, but as we sit up here as city council men and women, or as a woman and men. And so I think you need to put yourself in our shoes and understand what you do to us and to our families, and I have 2 young children, when you send information like this. A lot of it's very disrespectful. A lot of it is borderline illegal, and we tolerate a lot of it, and we don't air that in front of you at every meeting. So I would appreciate it if you would come here with a positive note. And with that said, I'd like to make public comment at the end of the meeting, because it sets the tone for this meeting every night. And to be frank, I'm tired of it. I'm here to do business. And I will be happy to, like I said, and my husband knows me, if you want to dish it, I'm going to dish it back. And if you want to play this game, we can put all kinds of documents in the public record. You would be amazed at some of the things I have endured. And that's all I'd like to say to set the tone of this meeting.
Vice Mayor?
I'd like not to say too much with this being the last meeting for Mike Crotty also, but I think I need to. Both the comments about emails that I sent, I'm well aware of. I just want to say, not related to the comments tonight, but reflecting over the last week or so, I want to make a personal apology to Mr. John Baker, who sent an email to me, and it was inappropriate, my response to him. The words I used, not necessarily the subject matter, but the words I used was disrespectful in my position as an elected official. I don't apologize for the message I sent to the one that Mr. Headley addressed, and I will certainly address that at a future meeting if you'd like to explain that, and everyone can look at it and make their own judgment call on that one. But again, I want to apologize to Mr. Baker for my email, and I will do my best to be more respectful in my responses. That's all I got.
Thank you. I wish Mr. Baker had stayed to hear that, but thank you, and we will do that. And thank you. My only comments, I went to a meeting, a P&Z meeting, and they discussed the signs. There is a move possibly to have a moratorium for a year. Looks like something's going to come to the council so we can discuss it. Just to make some other types of signs, maybe some banner signs.
While you're on the signs, actually, if you read the comp plan, I don't think we can do it. Actually, I think the city attorney should look into that before we spend any more time on a moratorium.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying what they said at the P&Z.
I understand, but I think before the P&Z spends any more time or the city council spends any time on this.
Bring that up when Mr. LaRue's up there on the section that you're discussing, okay? Maybe we want to change it. All right. And thanks for bringing that up, Cheryl. City Attorney report. Mr. Beadle. I don't have anything. Thanks for your help on the separation. No, I meant on the separation, not for your help on this, Jim. Interim City Manager report. Hi, and welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. I do have some priorities. There are actually 8 of them, very short, and they're really taken from the KPEG, and they're also taken from some of the goals of the council that they've indicated and some of the other issues from the community, and I'd like to just very briefly mention them. Number 1 is citizen communication. To encourage involvement and input from the community. You are the city and you are the taxpayers. This is your city. Please be involved, and I will try to help facilitate that in a number of ways. And we've already touched on the Beachcaster, and we do need a vehicle like the Beachcaster to keep the citizens informed of what is happening in the city. The second priority is communication with the council. Bring me your priorities, council members. For example, what efficiencies do you want me to research or ways to connect with the business community? I'm here to do that work for you and bring you the research, analyze it, pros and cons, whatever is needed to help you be able to make the best decision possible on behalf of the community. The third point is increased accountability and transparency. All publishable documents should be readily available and easily accessed on the website. Budget issues. I would like to bring council several options as we're coming in, and we're moving very quickly into the budget. I'd like to bring several options to consider, of course, balancing millage rates and essential services with a big focus also, as council has indicated, to look at the debt, possibly reducing that, as well as building the reserves of the city. Fifth, I'd like to look at the staffing plan and the personnel policy, to analyze staffing across all departments to make sure it's adequate, to make sure that the services of the city are going to be available to the citizens across all departments, and to revisit the personnel policy. The CRA, Community Redevelopment Agency, is the sixth point. There is a meeting on June 27th, and there is a move. We're moving to adopt a new plan. And council has indicated a very strong desire, and so have the citizens, to move forward on resolving any past financial issues with the CRA. City contracts is point number 7. To ensure that the city is getting the best product, the best results, with taxpayer dollars. And that means even casting the net wider for other providers that we may not have used in the past. And finally, number 8, technology. Wise use of technology to enhance transparency and access across all of the departments and to introduce efficiencies, and especially when you're looking at employee time, to reduce some of the time that employees are currently using to redo and the problems with communications intra or inter-departments. So those are the 8 issues that I am looking at. And if you want me to prioritize them, we can talk about at a different time, and should you have particular priorities. Carrie, are you here? Carrie Stahms? There you are. Yes. Carrie is going to make a presentation on the vendor at Pelican Beach, and are you also going to talk about Hightower lease?
No.
You are not. So she's only going to talk about the Pelican Beach Park vendor. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you. If you recall, in March, April timeframe, we entered into a contractual agreement with Tropical Snow. This is very important, so you guys pay good attention to the snow cone episode. Got onto Tropical Snow, and they were going to vend for us at Pelican Beach Park. Our hopes was that they would vend for us selling hot dogs, shaved ice, that sort of thing, daily from 10 to about 3. They've been up there since about the first part of April, and they have found that it is not a lucrative business enterprise, and have asked to either terminate the agreement or look at a revision to the contract so that they can still be up there and try to actually get some business when the business is there. They're finding weekdays, they might be there a weekday and might take in $12 on an entire day. And they're paying staff and travel time. I guess our folks don't like shaved ice like we thought. But so our choices seem to be 3. We can accept their termination. It's a 30-day termination. They would be done towards the beginning of July. Or we can enter into an amendment to their contract, allowing them to reduce the fees that they give us from June through September, and allow them there only on the weekends. Or we can accept their termination and go out for proposal again, but then we lose most of the summer, and I don't see that that would be very good. So what I would recommend that y'all think about is allowing Tropical Snow to have their contract amended and have them there just on weekends, reduce their fees paid to the city through September, and then they would not be there October through, and then the city could regroup again with a different contract if we so wished.
Thanks for that update. Let me bring it back to the council and
Yes,
see,
sir.
one, if we want to discuss this tonight. I guess we're going to have to. So what do you got? What do you think?
I was just going to say, Carrie, did they offer what a acceptable fee would be?
Yes, they offered $400 or $100 a weekend, and they're fair enough to say that some weekends there are 5 weekend days, and, or some there's 8, some there's 9. So they did a proposal of $450 in June, $450 in July, $400 in August, and $500 in September, somewhere along those lines. If we take their proposal, in the end, by the end of September, we would have derived $2,153 from them, as opposed to the $9,000. If we terminate them, we'll get June, and we will have gotten $1,703 because they'll pay us the full June of $1,350, even though they're not making any money up there.
I mean, at least they'd be there serving the public, and we'd be getting something out of it.
Yes, sir, that's how I looked at it.
Yeah.
You mean till the end of September?
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing, you know, we've never really had a vendor up there like that before, and it's kind of a learning curve. They anticipated, you know, they've been, I think the council's aware, they've been up at the Air Force Base there for 14 years or so, and they know their business, and they're very good at it. And we go up there all the time with the kids, and it's a shame that the business isn't there, it looks like, but, and we could certainly consider the second highest bid was Elaine Fee, I believe, but then she might find herself in the same situation. You know, she bid, $1,500 under this contract, but then she's going to find herself in the same situation if the business just doesn't warrant the return and the payment to the city, so I don't know.
I think Scott hit it when he said we're on a learning curve here. We've never had someone in there, and it's just too bad that it didn't work out for the year. So, I would like to know from them if it's location, if it's number of people, what do they think the problem is, so we can go from there. I don't think it's what they offer. I would like to try and find out, why not? I mean, we have those slots filled, maybe because people are going for a barbecue instead of stopping there.
I chatted with Mr. Nichols about that, and he felt the same thing. We've got 140 some parking places there, and we rent pavilions to several hundred people. So everybody's packing in a picnic lunch with their cakes and their everything. And although there are people that go to the beach there, you find a lot of them are locals, and they might come with some money, and then they might just come with their surfboard, right, Scott? So they thought that there just wasn't, like at Air Force Base at tables. There's a picnic pavilion, and then there's hundreds of other people there. Whereas our picnic pavilions, we might have 40 or 50 beachgoers, and they're all locals going home for lunch. Yeah. But he was as surprised as I was that he wasn't doing better business.
Lloyd, anything?
I think it's a good idea to retain them at the lower rate.
Until the end of September? All right, so can we have a motion to amend the contract? I think we have some fees.
Do we need to have a citizen come in?
I can. Ann, do you have any input?
No, I
think it makes sense to do as Carrie has suggested and renegotiate. The reality is that if the people aren't buying, they certainly can't be taking out of their pockets, not from their profit there. I mean, they're running in the red big time, and they won't be able to make it.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, why? I mean, are they tied to? I'm sorry. Are they tied to Pelican Beach Park?
Yes.
Can they? I mean, if we're going to amend the contract, why don't we say, well, okay, you can do Pelican Beach Park and also Hightower, so that they can run through. I mean, Hightower doesn't have the pavilions.
You went up for competitive bid for that specific.
Oh.
You can get in, the attorney can tell you more, but we specifically said for that, and that affects the bidding process.
Well, like Wayne Gretzky said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So, again.
Well, Hightower only has 32 parking spots, and it's full by about 8:30.
Yeah.
So.
Well, just a thought.
All right. This is not an agenda item, but we are discussing it. We're going to make a motion on any public comment that we're going to amend the contract. Michelle? It looks like, when we get the motion, amend the contract through the end of September.
Michelle French, resident. I agree. I feel like we maybe ought to amend it and let them go to Hightower, even if it's a few days. Even though we lose a couple of parking spaces, I guess they take up a couple of parking spaces with their little truck. But on the off chance that they might be able to gain more revenue, there's nowhere up there, and there's fewer pavilions. I just think it's worth a try if you're going to amend the contract anyhow. Just a thought.
Thank you.
Thank
Any other public comment?
Yeah, my name is Rodney Jones. I live at 472 Olean Court. So my opinion is that it went out for competitive bid, right? So, up there at Picnic, the traffic is greater than over here at Pelican, right? So there's not as many locals, Plus, if you look at it, the hot dogs are $1 at Picnic, and they're $2 here. And you have less traffic. It makes a difference. So you're thinking, well, maybe that's not going to make a difference, but to the locals it does, for the kids. And you just don't get, that kind of activity at Pelican. I didn't, as far as, reducing just down to a weekend, I think it's a great idea. That's the only thing they do up there at Picnic, I believe, is the weekend, which is your biggest, your biggest selling point. So, and they do a great job. I mean, we've had them out South Beach Seahawks, functions and things like that. But I would say, reduce their time out there. And then, next year take a look at the trend, because there are times when you have tourists come through town, right? And and it's packed out there. So, I think maybe that would be a consideration too.
Thank you, sir. Skip, and then Gabe, and then Don. In the queue.
Skip Bollinger, resident. I heard, I believe, that they're there from, 10 in the morning or 11 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, something on certain days, or every day, something like. I'm thinking if you're going to review the contract subject to amending it, you might consider giving the vendor the flexibility of being there the hours when they anticipate business, when they deem it profitable to be there, and not require them to be there when they're not doing any business. And it's like before deregulation, when the airlines used to have to fly empty airplanes around just because the route structure required it and the government required it. I think we ought to let the vendor decide what days and what hours, and if they wanted to stay there until 6 o'clock on a busy day, let them do it, provided that they do their cleanup afterwards and all that, which is probably already covered in the contract. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Gabe?
Gabe Fine, resident. We don't allow any vehicles on the beach, do we?
No, just the police have a vehicle that trolls.
But no citizens.
No cars.
Okay, I know none of you in front of me, but there's a lot of people behind me. How many of you remember the Good Humor Man?
Oh, yeah.
You guys remember the Good Humor Man? This is a bicycle. This is not a motorized vehicle. Now, I guarantee you, if you run up and down the beach with some cold water, ice cream, etc., that would probably bring you revenue. The people don't want to leave the beach, they're frolicking in the water and then come up to get a drink or whatever, unless they're really very thirsty. A lot of people do bring drinks with them, but that might be a thought if somebody has a rig like that to ride up and down the beach and give us some revenue and also start a business. Thank you.
I thank you for that. Don?
Don McClendon, resident. I was at the meetings when this topic was brought up, both of them. I did caution council. I heard somebody throw out a figure, we could generate $20,000 a year off of this. That was one. My comment was, look, these people are going to be on a shoestring. They're going to be hard pressed to make it. There was even discussion of putting two vendors, one at one end of the Pelican Beach, one at the other end. My suggestion would be, yes, renegotiate contract, but I'd charge the people for electricity and some other minimal charges. Let them do a service to the community and not have it looked upon as a revenue generator for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Sir?
Hello, everybody. Dan Genovese, long-time resident. When a landscaper in my community fails, there's two more knocking on the door. And I'm just thinking to myself, I see opportunity here for other people who have an entrepreneurial attitude. If the vendor who's contracted to do this is complaining he's not making any money, maybe he's not doing it right. And, I didn't know anything about the contract, I don't know anything about the bid, but what I do know is when I see opportunity, I like to get involved. And so if your option is to release them, you might want to put it out to bid again and see if somebody's got a better idea for you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much for the public comment. Carrie, any answers on those questions or anything? They do have flex time?
They do have flex hours. They can state their own hours. Those were the hours that they chose, was 10 to 3. They kind of found it didn't ramp up till 10 and close down about 3. And they actually can choose their own days as well. We asked them to be up there all 7 days, but they're finding that with weather or other reasons, the park's not busy. They didn't come up during the day.
All right, thank you. Let me bring back to the council for options and a motion.
Mr. Fine's idea, and I'm sorry I didn't get the other gentleman's name.
Yeah,
I think those two go perfectly together. I think if another vendor came up with an idea like Mr. Fine's, that may in fact work. And you're always in this business to find a better mousetrap. And that would be a much better mousetrap, in my estimation.
But one thing we did beat around, and we talked, I can't believe we talked so much about snow cones. We talked about flex time and the different services, and some vendors offered to just pay a percentage of what they made, and we wrote the RFP. We wrote the RFP. So we're kind of stuck with what we've accepted. I personally am leaning towards allowing the second vendor to come in and giving her an opportunity because she offers ice cream, which is a big sticking point for me and my family. I know we run for ice cream. And also to the price. If my kid has $2 in his pocket, he's not going to spend it on one hot dog. He's going to go to McDonald's and he's going to buy a $1.99 hamburger and a 99-cent drink. And that's pretty, that's something else that affects these children. $2 is $2, So if the council's willing with that, that's just my opinion.
Mr. Beadle, in line with yours. On the initial RFP, when we decided on one person, do you have the ability to go to the second, or do we have to look at it again?
I don't know the answer to that. I'd have to go back and reread the proposal.
Okay, because
We can terminate the agreement. My only thought would be, with it already being real close to July, we did not do any discussion with the second vendor with regard to her licensing, whether she has certifications from the county health department. So I would want to make sure of that before we arbitrarily thought, let's do that.
Not to give any guidance, I know it's up to you guys, but your number 3 said, we can amend it and then go out RFP, or, keep them in business until we look at the contract and to see if we want to go with the second, or if we just want to open it up again. But I'd like to keep somebody there, I think, at least while we're doing these negotiations.
Can we terminate the contract but allow them to stay there on, say, a month-to-month basis until we come up with a different plan?
Yeah, or you extend it till September with the provision that the council has the opportunity to terminate them based on another vendor.
That's kind of the same thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, rather than month to month, because they might say, I don't want to be there August, and then, so then we control it, I think.
Also, Mr. Beadle, does the contract limit them to having to stay in the parking lot and the type of vehicle that they have? In other words, if they were to come up on their own with an idea like what was presented, are they able, in accordance with the contract, to execute?
Could they get on the beach with a two-wheel cart or whatever?
I'm thinking not.
I have to go back and look at all the specs and everything. I don't remember all
So
the stuff
specific
off
to
the top of my
Pelican.
head.
Yeah, but he can look at it. That's what we chose to do.
So let's come up with just a temporary fix, and then let's press a temporary fix at least, and then we can.
I think a temporary fix would be to take the smaller monthly amount.
I think that's $100 a weekend is what I read.
Yes, sir.
$100 a weekend.
Is it $100 per, I'm sorry, is it $100 per weekend or $50 per weekend day?
I'm not sure if it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Or
They would be there Saturday and Sunday. They would pledge to us $100 a weekend. So they've calculated for
Okay, so.
the month of June, there's 8 weekends, so it'd be $400. If there was a fifth,
Saturday or if it's Sunday, then it would be $450. They gave us half of a weekend $100 if there was an extra Saturday or Sunday in that month.
How far back do they want to back, do they want to backdate this?
No, sir. If you can agree with that proposal, they would start that in June, which would give us 450 in June. If you disagree with that, they'll continue out June and give us 1350 for June, which is what their contract requires.
Well, another way we can go about this is agree with them, put them on a week-to-week basis, you know, just prorate the monthly payments to a week-to-week basis, and put out an announcement allowing vendors to come to us with their proposals. In other words, we don't limit them by giving them an RFP. We allow them to come to us with their ideas and proposals on how they would go about running a business and what the cash flow would look like to the city.
I can also go to our second range vendor and see what commercials that vendor is able to provide and report back to the council. And if she's ready to go and then all is set up, then we bring it back to the city council.
But we still have to make
that'd
a
be a
decision.
bicycle with a bell on it.
Well,
And a card,
let me-
you get a bicycle with a bell and a card on it.
I'm still trying to figure out where, I mean, I remember there was discussion about we would designate a spot for them in the parking lot, if I remember right. I don't remember if it's still in there someplace, but the other thing is the council does have the right to terminate the contract on 30 days' notice anyway. So whatever you would agree to do or not do with respect to their suggested modification, that still doesn't alter the termination provision in the contract. And if you wanted to, you could go out and do RFPs or whatever like you're talking about, or at least establish certain criteria for it anyway. Maybe not be as specific as we were the last time.
So what they're proposing also after September is October, November, December, January, February. They're proposing the original 250, and we'd still get that, the original.
It would be done in September.
Yeah, okay. So it wouldn't be the annual. Okay.
There's nothing in.
Okay.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we terminate their contract in 30 days, put them on a month-to-month basis after that, and put out a request for proposals for people to bring other ideas.
I don't want to go through that process again.
We don't need to terminate
Yeah.
it. Okay. We have the right to terminate it on 30 days' notice, so we can accept their amendment.
Yeah.
Because we'll still retain the right to terminate it on 30 days' notice anyway.
Okay.
So whatever council may want to do in the background, so to speak, as far as dealing with trying to find another vendor or going and talking to the second vendor or however you want to do it, we still have the right to terminate it on 30 days' notice as it is.
Okay.
All
So
we would,
accept that we accept their proposal as written.
on the cash terms.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Billman, second by Vice Mayor Rhodes. Lenore?
I would just suggest, as part of the motion, that all of the remaining provisions of the contract remain in place.
As stated.
Yes.
Lenore? Thank you.
You want me to just read it back so I'm sure I got it?
Sure.
Okay, Councilman Billman has indicated that he would like to accept their proposals, and Attorney Beadle indicated that all of the provisions stay in place as written, according to the initial.
That would be part of the motion, and then a second by the Vice Mayor.
Now I can do the callback.
Okay.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman French?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilman Billman?
Yes.
Mayor Ferrante?
Yes, and the motion passes. And we're back, we're still on the interim city manager report. Ann?
I think that's about it.
She's inundated with snow cones. Before we go forward, I did have a question during comments about moving citizens' comment to the end of the agenda. Is that something we want to take a vote on? I'm very concerned about this kind of like dining and dashing, and I looked at those two emails, and it doesn't have the entire chain of emails, and I think it's really unfair that people are putting documents in the public record that aren't complete and making these accusations. And I just, I don't like the tone of the meetings that are set, and I would prefer that citizen comment be put at the end of the meeting.
Actually, Mr. Crotty had actually suggested that to me before he left. He said that there are many cities that do that so that the board can get their business out of the way and then have citizen comment.
It is an option that Melbourne uses and Palm Bay uses. Other cities do not. And so it's something that I would ask, and I just want to ask you, Cheryl, and I know I thought about this too, is it just based on tone of the comments, or are they better for us at the end?
I think they're better for us at the end.
Okay, and that's why, if you think, they've been all over the place. Since I've been on the council, they've been 3 minutes, 5 minutes. We've gone first, and then the citizens have gone first, and this has happened many times on different ways to approach citizen comments. So
and for that matter, I think we can move council comments to there too.
Well, I always think we should do the people's business first. Some people are staying here 3 hours so we can get them going home to Fort Myers and, yeah.
The council business first, as you said, right? Yeah.
All the comments, all of our comments, and we get them at the end so we can do what the people have come to hear. I mean, not that they haven't come to hear me, but I don't know. What do you think? I wanted to handle this though when we did.
I kind of agree with Councilwoman Dean in I agree with Councilwoman Dean in that there are times, especially of late, where citizen comments do seem to inject a level of discord in the room based on their tenor. At the same time, I respect people's time. Sometimes they can't stay for the entire meeting to get something off their chest that they want to get out there. Perhaps a solution might be to accept, written statements that we read, all right, at the end, all right, so that people don't have to stay here for it, but at least these things are read out loud for the record. I want people to be heard.
Oh, I do also. But we do have business to conduct, and they have their 3 minutes during the agenda, during the items to talk about that. And then lately, it just seems to be a slugfest. And I just, I work diligently at this job, and I'm kind of tired of it, really, to be honest. We take it all day in emails, literally. I saw the 2 emails. The chain was not attached. It was just their response and what they wanted to project to the public. I'm fine with that. I understand, but I think it needs to be moved at the end of the meeting, and business needs to be taken care of. Then those citizens' comments can be addressed at the next meeting if we need to. Or if staff is here, they can address them then. What difference? It's still citizens' comment. It's just being moved on the agenda.
Well, it's probably not fair to use our meetings basically from the beginning of the year until present as an example of how long all our meetings are. Those were extremely long meetings, uncharacteristic of the meetings that I attended when I sat in the important seats out there. And so, again, maybe people could stay, all right, towards the end to say something that's important to them.
Maybe you go to dinner first and you come back. It works both ways in government. It's either or. Joe, you know that it could be either or. So,
Well, this meeting's getting just as long because we're talking about something that's not even on the agenda. So if we're going to do something, then let's make a motion and press, or let's just put it on the agenda for another meeting and discuss it then.
Because the other thing I was thinking is that maybe we could alternate it, beginning at one meeting.
No,
at the end of
just
another.
make a decision. Can we just make a decision?
I think what I'd like to do, Cheryl, is last meeting, we were supposed to talk about all council procedures. I'd like to just embed it in there and make sure that it's on the next one to talk about council procedures to include citizens' comments.
Okay, I've had council procedures on the agenda probably 3 or 4 times so far, so.
It was going to be on this one, but we asked.
No, I understand. I understand.
And I'd like to discuss it then, because we have a couple of things, minutes, when public wants to speak and things like that. So we'll embed it in there. Thank you for bringing that up.
Well, I'd also like to say that I would take anybody's email input on this issue because I'm interested in what you think. So.
We all are. Thank you. All right, agenda item number 8, agreement for professional engineering services with Quentin Hampton. Ann.
Okay. The city has had a contract with Quentin L. Hampton and city engineer at the podium there, David King, since 2006, and I believe there's been one renewal, and this would be the second renewal for 1 year for the council to consider an extension, and David's going to tell us why.
Thank you, and welcome, David.
Good evening. David King with Quentin Hampton Associates. As the city manager mentioned, this would be a second extension to our original 5-year contract. The contract was originally written as a 5-year contract with allowable 3 1-year extensions. Over the past 6 years, we've worked on a number of projects, worked with a number of y'all, citizens, city staff. Hopefully, everybody believes we've had some, mostly, if not all, successful projects at a good value to the city and hopefully for the betterment of the city as a whole. So we hope to continue that for another year and y'all's blessing and go back to work. Or keep working, I should say.
Thank you. Let me bring it back to the council and then some public comment. Any questions, council?
Yeah, is there no local, nothing against you, sir, but is there no local company that does this? Can we look and see if there's a local company that does this? At least somebody in our own county? Does that make sense to anybody?
I understand that the legislature in Tallahassee likes to do that and say that, and we could. I just know that we have gotten terrific results.
Oh, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that at all. What I'm saying is, do we know for a fact that we can't get the same sort of results from a local company? That's all I'm saying. And I think that sort of research needs to be done before we sign up for another year of this.
You'd have to go out for bid. The issue is, do we want to extend this contract for a year? If we choose to look for a new firm, then we have to go through the competitive bid process.
And very similar to your snow cone contract, it's a non-exclusive contract. Either party can cancel at any time, so if you prove it tonight and tomorrow you find somebody local you want to utilize, you have that right.
Well, then maybe that's the way we go. And then, because I noticed on your 8 bullet points there, one of them was to review city contracts.
Correct.
And one of the items I was going to email back to you, I was going to make comments on your 8 inputs. One of the comments was going to be on that particular one. I was going to expand on it and say, please, as you're doing that, look for potential local companies to work with.
Right. As Mr. King noted, you can cancel at any time, and maybe council wants to consider some, like the county looks for local vendors in the future, and that might be something that you'll want to even consider. First pick, so to speak, if that's what you want to do to help build a local business. But in this case, it appears that you've accomplished quite a lot and worked well with the city. And again, council does have the option to cancel at any time.
Jim, when we adopted the ordinance for local preference for the Sunoco vendor, does that include all vendors? Is this, or not? Do you remember?
I don't know.
So we might have to go through an ordinance process as well, so it's not, it's a two-step process. And I also have a serious concern. We have Cassia under construction. You're doing construction services for that job?
Yes.
That's what I'm also concerned about, switching in the middle of a huge construction project, because they are doing construction services on behalf of the city.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I do too.
Dave, you've been around, what, 4 years now with the city? Longer than that?
6 years.
Okay. And you work primarily with Alan Potter and John Stone and
Correct. Yeah, and the way it works here is that even on construction, with the city providing their own inspection, so we kind of, you know, the buzzwords, we work with extension city staff, and it works very well in this city. We work for about 17 different cities in Brevard, Volusia, and Flagler counties, and, you know, some are easier to work with than others. Definitely Satellite Beach is a very convenient partner, if you will, in our engineering. We work well together. We communicate together well. The citizens, it's just, you all know the community, of course, because y'all are where you're at. So, but it works well, and I think it's definitely worked well for the last 6 years.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about you and your company, and the last big projects we've had with the drainage project and thing had come in under bid and gotten money back and things like that. So
please don't misconstrue what I was saying.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I just think
No,
that in all of our contracts, I want to see if we can get local folks. If we can't, we can't.
Yeah, we work with many municipalities. A lot of them have local bidding preferences. A lot of them exclude professional services because of various reasons. But we go up against that when we go look for new work with some other cities, and sometimes we're second because we're not the most local.
Sure.
Our office is located in Port Orange. We do have a satellite office in Cocoa Beach. We do work. We've been working in Brevard County since 1968. We've had a continual presence. So, you know, from a overhead standpoint, we decided, hey, we're going to have one main office, have the majority of our personnel there. From a monetary standpoint, I was born and raised in Cocoa. Brevard County is my home, so I consider myself local. I consider our company local, even though our office isn't located here.
Well, I think you're spending a lot of time, again, talking about something that's not on the agenda. We're talking about a contract renegotiation, and then if you would like another agenda item, such as going out to bid for another engineer, that would be a topic for another day.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the addendum to the agreement of professional engineering services, extending the contract between the City of Satellite Beach and Quentin L. Hampton and Associates to March 23rd, 2013.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. David, could you have a seat, please? I'd like to open agenda item number 8 for public comment. Thank you. I'd like to bring it back to the council. Lenore, for a vote. I have a motion by Councilman French, second by Councilwoman Deanan.
Councilman Billman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Councilwoman Deanan?
Yes.
Councilman French?
Yes.
Mayor Galante?
Yes, and the motion passes unanimous. We're snickering up here because I like to get public opinion and then the motion, but we got the motion and then public opinion, so either way is fine. I just have to remember that whole thing, so that's good. And
just one other thing, did you want the city manager to pursue looking at a local preference ordinance in the interim?
No. What I'd like the city manager to do is, in her process that she says she's going to be undergoing to look at all city contracts,
Right.
to keep the local preference.
But then we'd have to have an
option
ordinance written
in
by
mind.
Jim, or ordinance.
Then let's put together an ordinance.
all right. The next item is agenda item number 9. I will let you know that we have planned and set aside approximately 60 minutes for this agenda item number 9. And then we'll take a break after that. This is the review of the comprehensive plan amendments proposed by the CPAB. And Mrs. Samuelson.
Yes, I'd like to introduce Jim LaRue, and he is here to conduct a workshop dealing with policies that are compatible, and this is something we really need to focus on, compatible with military installation and other policies that are necessary for greater latitude and flexibility with development. And Jim's going to take us through those steps.
Jim, good evening. Thanks for coming. You're welcome.
Mr. Council, it's good to be here tonight. There are a couple of things that I'll do just to give you a little bit of a background. In 2011, it was important for the state of Florida to have what they called a growth management revisions, major revisions in the comprehensive plan. And that's one of the reasons why you see the comprehensive plan amendments that are before you that were initiated first by me and then go through your LPA, which is your CPAB. And that is that relax some of the different requirements that were required by the state of Florida. In some instances, close to a high hazard area, there's been an update, so the map that is being suggested to be adopted for you by the city is much less intrusive than the one that was done before. And some of the policies are actually allowing, even though there is a state requirement in terms of how you deal with close to high hazard areas, the geographic area, if we adopt the map that was done by the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council, is much less intrusive than it was before to take away some of the problems. So it's important. The memos, and you have a whole stream of memos behind you to kind of help you go through that, but I'm reading from the May 31st memo that probably the first thing to understand is why, your question is, Jim, why are these things coming to us in terms of plan amendments? And a good many of them are coming to you because it gives you more flexibility in your comprehensive plan itself. I'm not saying your comprehensive plan is the best it can be. There's much work that needs to be done in terms of certain aspects, but there are a good many flexibility areas, and then I have given you a couple of pages that talk about important changes that I think fit into it's on page 3 back behind that memo, where, for example, I would say hotel and motel density in residential high density and allowing transient lodging uses in commercial and future land use. You did not in the comp plan have the ability to have hotel uses in your commercial or your residential, and that is an important part of that. As well, there was a specific ability to use mixed use, but not a general mixed use category, and we did add that as well. We deleted limitations on non-residential to residential amendments. We ended up having certain, again, replacing the hurricane storm surge and FEMA flood zone maps to reflect the most recent data and modified some of the coastal high hazard areas to be less restrictive than they were before. It doesn't mean that all of the coastal high hazard rules have been removed. There is a limit of public expenditures that subsidize development of coastal high hazard, but we used to have policies that said you couldn't direct density into certain areas, and we're taking that language out and showed that, so that makes it a much better sort of a situation than from that perspective. There is an item that allowed you to end up opting out of the school. We have a public school facilities element itself, and allowed each individual city that they wanted to opt out of that element. We had suggested that would be something you pursue. If you read my memo on May 31st, I've been to several school staff meetings that says basically the concern of the school board, and we probably have a member here tonight to talk about it. The concern is that if you don't have concurrency, and let me go back as to why that was even suggested in the first place, and that is that right now, each city and county in the state of Florida is required to have the school board's capital improvement program and their updates in terms of the school work plan in their facility, in their capital improvement element itself. And the concern now from the school board is that, and the school staff, is whether or not one city, a smaller city perhaps, that wouldn't have quite the concurrency in a map like ourselves, or say Indiana, could they opt out separately and not affect others? Now, the concern from the school board staff, and there will be others that will also comment on that, is that whether all local governments have to be agreement of yes or no in terms of concurrency for the interlocal. That's being decided by an Attorney General opinion. And then the impact of that also is important because we have to decide whether or not that influence would influence others in terms of concurrency. In other words, if you end up having school impact and you're a larger place, you can see that wouldn't be as good an issue as it would be if you were smaller and didn't have much redevelopment. My recommendation at this point is to leave our school facilities element as is, and the concurrency issues intact until the next round of amendments. Issue there. Another item that's very important that is required by the state of Florida, and that is complying with the military compatibility, and I gave you some of the backup for that. There's an I don't want to bore you with the actual statute number itself of 163-3175 pertains to criteria for compatibility with military installations, which puts us into, of course, a situation with the Air Force Base. It has another impacting issue, and that is that former lands that was owned by Patrick Air Force Base, whether or not there's about compatibility in terms of how the land use was coordinated with that. And there is a requirement by the state that by June the 30th, you're supposed to have compatibility policies in terms of how you would proceed with land use coordination with whatever military institution it is near you. We have coordination policies, and if you will remember, we actually have somebody on the advisory board that represents the Air Force Base. That's not good enough. We end up having to we're supposed to have compatibility policies that would be in place that right now we do not have. I gave you as an example, you have in the backup as an example from Brevard County, where they talk about having a noise. There is a particular land use joint study, and there's also another study that has to do with patterns, patterns of taking off in terms of whatever Air Force or type of impact that you would have from their facilities themselves, whether or not there has to be lessening buffering or land use nearby, and that is important that we end up making sure that we coordinate with that correctly. The problem with this is that the local government doesn't adopt the future land use element in terms of the compatibility policies, like I had suggested in the backup memo. If we do not contain criteria provided at a certain time period, the agency may notify the administration commission, and they could be sanctions on us in terms of not proceeding with that. Of course, it would go to administrative mediation, and we don't want to be at that point. Now, I've had conversations with DEO, and the ironic thing is that first I talked to you about a good part of our planning legislation in 2011 that allows flexibility. This is probably the one that is still under the control of, it was now DEO, not DCA, we know it as DCA, that they still have the ability to be able to control. It affects us, and I'll allow some discussion on this item, it affects us because if we're talking about a future land use amendment, a property that formerly was Patrick Air Force Base, we need to have in place something that will do one or two things. It will do two things. One is it will make us consistent with the law, but we don't want to be hamstrung to the point of, for example, Brevard County had something where they would have light density or single-family density at a certain point near Patrick Air Force Base. We don't want to be in a situation where our flexibility of that 100 acres would restrict us to just single-family. So at this point, because there's a lot of information, can I go ahead let some response from you as council members on that before I go any further.
Yeah, I'd like that, and I would just like to say that if there's a specific that you're going to refer to, could you say the policy number or the objective number, and then well, Jim, no, when we ask you questions too, if there is or if there's just general questions, because then it'll be on the, or just tell me what page you're on so I can
Well,
read what
I thought the point was we were going to set up a workshop to go through the entire comprehensive plan, correct? We're just really addressing these
I think
three issues?
Well, here's a couple of things that I needed to understand. Is one, you would end up, get direction out of tonight, we would come back with an aspect of public hearing with the policies and things that go through that, so we have to have. What I tried to do tonight is make sure that in essence, you've got the general issues out of the comp plan amendment so that you know what they are and why it's necessary to proceed on with, especially the military.
Well, I understand that part of it, and I'm going to say for the record too that with respect to the school element and concurrency, I do want it to remain as I'm adamantly opposed with it changing. And you and I have talked about this, particularly when there's an AG's opinion still out there to be rendered.
Well, and at this point, if you saw my memo, we're not coordinated, but I agree with that. When I went to the school staff memo, and I've also talked to some policymakers from the school board, the concern is what that effect would have on concurrency for bigger than us.
Yeah, way beyond us.
If you're in Atlantic or somebody that's small, but the opinion now is, state says you can, but the school board and we need to find out whether the interlocal makes unanimous or not. So rest assured, if you're
hard to rest this evening.
Saying tonight, do not in this point, we would not delete the school element, nor would we end up having taken out school.
Okay, and also I've talked to other planners in Brevard County who are also concerned about that, as well as some of our school board members and other people. But I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that in our charter we have some restrictions. Are you aware of the restrictions on density? I
am, but then you also have to take into consideration that 163 has some problems with density being something in terms of the referendum.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I just want to make sure the council is aware of that. If you can look at section 5.05 of the charter, we have some restrictions that
the breezeway and the
the breezeway and also
the height,
density and things like that are in the charter that are very restrictive. So we need to make sure that everything is kind of
legislation is much more, shall we say, unforgiving of those kind of.
Cheryl, is that in conflict with what's in here?
To be honest, I haven't gotten through all this, but if you guys want to go, I'll get through
Jim,
some of the highlights.
That's in conflict. That's the height, the breezeway.
Well, you're going to be able to do, in terms of density aspects, you're going to be able to have the compact control.
Okay. All right. Other.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I agree with the schools issue too, but with reference to the military part, just a couple of issues there. Let's be technically correct. Let's not use the terms that were used in Exhibit 3 and in Objective 1.7 of Exhibit 4, where we refer to the commanding officer of Patrick Air Force Base. There is no such person. That person is the 45th Space Wing Commander.
Right.
So we need to make sure that that's changed.
No. That was just a sample of what they had done. That's not.
Well, but it's also in policy 1.7.1 of Exhibit 4. The commanding is mentioned a few times. So that needs to be changed, 45th Space Wing Commander. And then the other thing we need to be careful of, 45th Space Wing Commander. Yeah. The other thing we need to be careful of is it is very possible that there's going to be another BRAC effort in the next few years. I'm talking to my buds up at the Pentagon. We need to be very careful when we write this that we do not, you were talking about airplane noise and traffic patterns and that sort of thing. If we want this base to stay, we need to be darn careful that we don't look like we're being uncooperative with our military brethren here.
Right.
Be very, very careful.
Now, these, by the way, we ended up asking for the two documents, and a letter, I think, that talked about, not to get technical, but there is a joint land use study, which I'm not sure they actually have, because Florida hasn't been able to find this, and air installation compatible use zone study, which we've asked for, and we have copies of the interim manager, so she knows that we've asked for those documents. That, in a way, these policies don't offer their protection more so than ours is required by law. So my only concern is we want to know what's in that study before we commit to it, but that's probably what's going to be.
Okay. We just need to be eyes wide open when we're looking at it. Okay.
And I apologize for
No, that's
on the other, but I didn't realize.
Jim, I don't have a problem with the CPAV, but I do have a problem getting to the 30th of June. How do we get this?
Well, here's my
Do you have
response to you
a,
on that.
okay,
My response to you on that is, nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to make us, you have to do this day or you turn into the pump.
Right.
So DEO now is what we call it, Department of Economic Opportunity. The staff says that as long as you're moving forward in the comp plan amendments with some language, they're not going to trigger that. Again, who would trigger that would be the Air Force, would say, hey, you're not complying with state law, et cetera, then we want to take you to mediation and then sanctions. And we don't want that. And I'm giving you the background that says that. As long as we're proceeding in including those, and that's why this last part, this has not been reviewed by anybody but us tonight, and going forward with the actual Air Force itself to make sure that these will be compatible.
Okay.
And the reason I wanted to do tonight's workshop is that affects us, when you think about the future land use of 100 acres, there's two things that affect that. What the owners want, and also making sure that there's not deed restrictions on that area that would be restrictive to what can be done. And the second part is, I don't want us to get into a situation of being inconsistent with the Air Force base when we're suggesting planned industrial 10 acres or 20 acres, and then they go, no, you need to have a single family because that's what it was done at so-and-so date, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why it's important for us to not delay having that, and again, to the expedited review. I did give you, and I'm willing to go through any of these policies on the one hand too, but I gave you kind of a summary of the policies that I thought were important. That, in other words, we can't sit now on some of those existing policies that have a more restrictive focus on high hazards or put us in a situation of not being able to have hotel use for some of the other things. So did you see the highlights that I showed you there? The ones that want to proceed. If you want to go into any specific policies, we can do that and go through that. But my aim tonight was to make sure we're on track, set a public hearing for us, and then go through those. And my instruction at this point would be the school board, because this is a public hearing, school element would be back in, the school concurrency policies would be back in as well. It's just at this point, it's not.
And just the fact that we have decided to include the military part, even though we're not going to be able to have anything signed by the 30th of June or whenever it is, just the fact that it's in our process now and we have scheduled a public hearing, we're okay.
That's
Okay.
Jim, one of the things that we talked about, hotels, motels, a lot of people go right to the 100 acres, but there was discussion of having those in other parts of the city. Does this,
this is general.
This is just residential high density?
Commercial and allows you commercial and residential high density.
So if a developer wanted to put a small, Days Inn someplace as opposed to the 100 acres, we could at least consider it.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to say we can approve it, but this gives us, it's not only residential high density, or it says residential high A density, or do we want to open that to any other? I'm on page 1-1 down the bottom. It's a,
We allow down in commercial, that's, allowed in the residential high density. And then of course,
does it say commercial in here, or does it?
yes, included in, if you look at 1-2, at the top of the page, where it says commercial, intended to provide a wide range of commercial use, the new language created, including transient lodging facilities, which term includes hotels, motels, bed and breakfast establishments. So that gives you the flexibility
So we get-
where commercial would show up or anywhere high density would show up.
Good, thank you. That's
My
good.
experience in the other places where I've worked is if you go below high density for residential, you're going to get into some incompatibility for hotels.
Okay, well, this is
You can't work a
good.
bed and breakfast or something on that order, but hotel is not a problem. Question? Good. The other thing I would point to you again on 1-3, page 1-3, your book, I have a town center, mixed use, it's that residential space within an enclosed building, provides the ability to have no more than 50% in enclosed areas, but a town center mixed use. And that's giving you, in that restriction, you may want or may not think it's necessary. But you would have residential space in a mixed use that would not be more than 50%. Now, that's not something that would be pleasing to you, but I think that keeps you from having a character change.
Well, one of the things I'm very concerned about in general is that we have the 100 acres up north, but we also have an existing, I'm calling it Old Town now, Old City.
Okay.
And so on page 1.2, we have a maximum impervious surface for development in commercial to be 70%. So there's a big difference between raw land property and a property in our old city that is developed, and I think that's very stringent for a property that's already impervious, and then later on it says when you redevelop property, it has to comply to the new regulations. I'm very concerned about that because that's what I've heard has driven a lot of businesses out of the city, and I think we need to differentiate between the two. New development in the 100 acres or raw land or however you want to call it, undeveloped property and redeveloped property. Very concerning to me.
Well, when it comes back to the public hearing, it's very easy to add a section to this in terms of redevelopment.
Okay.
Redevelopment will be by special exception.
I'm still going.
I did ask you about that.
Okay.
It was 60 and going to 70, you'd like to make sure that it stays at 60?
I mean, it really should be based on the existing conditions. A lot of them are completely impervious. So if you meet the runoff conditions as is, then why would you have to make it 70% if it's already running somewhere? It's standard engineering.
Well, what you do on this, probably more than anything else, is for new development would not exceed 70%.
That's fine with me.
Okay.
Now let me tell you where it came from, because it was more restrictive then, and it was 60%, but your LDC said 70% for your commercial, so that's what it is now. If you change that, then we change it again.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But for new
On policy 1.2.5, page 1-4, the city will continue to limit the number, size, and locations of signs in the city, period. Well, that affects the moratorium.
well, read it again.
It's about the signage,
You're on 125,
policy 1.2.5, 1-4.
and you think that limits the moratorium?
I do.
Why?
Because we impose those sign restrictions in our comp plan, and then we have a 16-page sign ordinance supporting that. And I guess right now, what are we trying to do? Put a moratorium in to allow signs throughout the city without permits.
Isn't that a relative term, though, as far as restricting? Because it doesn't quantify it, it doesn't.
Not when it comes
qualify
to comp plans, I think.
They will be permitted, but no fee permitted for a 90-day. Well, it just was going to come for 90 days. They will be permitted, so we can.
I just
control.
see
So
that,
what would
I
work?
just see going back and using the comp plan, I hate to use this as a weapon. Saying, oh, you know, we don't like that. Well, we liked all those, but now we don't like this one. Look at Jim's laughing at me over there.
So
Because he knows it happens.
So what verbiage would work? That would-
I don't know. I didn't get that far. I just, I
Let
don't.
me back up. I'm more concerned about the type of signs that you have. For example, in your appearance element, you talk about the signs that you like, or, let's see, not that I want to open a Pandora's box, but since you brought it up, your element, your appearance element, which is element 9.2, if you look on page 9.2, I'm reading from the objective 1.6, city will reduce visual clutter associated with number, size, location, and design of signs.
Bigger weapon.
Yeah, I'm not through. I'm not through. City will continue to limit the number, size, and location of signs. City will permit monument signs as the only form of freestanding sign. Now, do you do that now? That is your.
Yeah, monuments, but there is others to let in banners. What are those?
Oh,
Those
temporary.
flag.
We're talking temporary
feather
signs.
banners thing? Feather banners.
Temporary basis.
Even more than a temporary, because you can have an event sign for 60 days and then another one, so you can do 90 days. But this is just to allow even, for lack of a better term, I guess, maybe a sign, a sandwich board, a sign that has a campaign, like we put down for campaigns.
Special events sort of thing?
No, not special events, just have it out for,
Restaurant.
Grand opening or something like
no, not a grand opening, just to have it out to advertise the business.
Okay.
The businesses have come to the to the planning and zoning to get more visibility. And they think that they will do this through an array of different signs. That would be permitted, 90 days, no fee. And I don't want to take their thunder because it hasn't come to us yet. But that's what it would be, 90 days, no fee permit, and there'd be like square footage on them and stuff.
But we don't want to limit that effort with this.
And I would say in these two sections, or at least more so in the appearance element, that you probably need to change some of that language.
I'm just saying, this is your blueprint for your city. It's a very serious
Yeah.
document.
No, you're right.
And I can just see it coming back, and there's a new election, you don't know what's going to happen, and saying, well, that's not what this says. It happens all over the
You're
state.
not going to have monument signs only. That's the one that struck me is.
Well, sorry, I didn't get that far, but.
But that would be approached in the public hearing as well. We look at that section. We would suggest.
So, sir, what are you looking for us for tonight?
I'm looking at the direction that we can proceed with the public hearing for you to transmit the items that we have. And that's
So all of these changes that we're talking about are going to have to be included before we have that public hearing?
Yes.
And will we have the opportunity to address some of these other issues? Or I can do that?
I'm listening.
Okay, I mean, it's a lot. I mean, do you want me to get with you on here? We had discussed this at length before.
We can do.
Or is this educational for everybody or not?
We can do this tonight.
We have another 30 minutes set aside. If
Okay,
you would
let's
like
keep
to go
going.
through it,
I'd
we're
be happy
here,
to.
rather than bring Jim back.
I understand if you don't mind,
Go ahead.
we probably in July or August have the transmittal public hearing for these items.
Sure.
And the only thing that your LPA has not looked at is the item for the military policies. And I would want a recommendation from them for the military policy.
Okay. We do have the time set aside. You've come, so we're gonna just press with this, all right,
Sorry.
Jim?
Policy 1.2.4, the city will continue to prohibit marinas, car sales, boat sales, mobile home parks, and other similar businesses. That to me is very vague. I don't mind prohibiting, but other similar businesses, that's very subjective. I don't know how the rest of the council feels about that. That could be anything.
And that's just for the record, that's a policy that's an existing policy that we didn't address. We're not trying to be flexible, but if you bring it up, then Is that policy that's of concern to the rest of it?
I think the pivotal words is what's a similar business to that?
It could include bicycle sales or skateboard, who knows?
Well, I
Golf
know-
cart sales.
I know we don't allow, if this is in here, motor shops to fix cars if the decibels are more than 25. Or so you can't just, somebody wanted to have a scooter, fix scooters, and we said no because it was too loud. And I don't know if that's a similar business.
Do you have any car sales now?
I don't think so.
Do you have any Marines?
No. No. But we could have similar businesses of people that want to fix cars. And I don't know, Rollins used to be, years ago, I don't know if that's a similar, would we allow that in the city?
I just think you probably should list the specific uses rather than say similar, because it's very subjective.
Yeah, do this, so we don't have to meet.
Yeah, well, before we go on, do you want to take the similar businesses out and leave the policy, or would you rather delete the policy?
I don't want to delete it. I know that there's a lot of history there behind why we prohibited some of those things, but,
And other similar businesses would go out.
But I
Joe
think
probably
though,
knows more about that.
well, I don't, but if we take out those words, then we're really just prohibiting those four.
Unless pre-existing is non-conforming use.
And Jim,
which then is governed by the land development regulations, so.
So you could, Jim, you know where we are? You okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for asking. Got my foot hooked on the
He's
cord.
quiet tonight.
Jim, well, we're going to get an attorney opinion.
Well, no, the issue, a lot of land use regulations, whether they're in the LDR or the comp plan, have language similar to and similar uses. Basically what they look at, you have a laundry list of things. Maybe you want to make your laundry list longer, but still retain the and similar uses, because what the courts will look at is what are the general characteristics or secondary effects of those uses as to why you don't want them there. So, I have at least some knowledge as to why some of those are in there. They were prohibited before I even, before Michael was here and I was here. Those have been continued on since like the 60s kind of a thing. And maybe that may be something to look at as to why some of those are actually in there, get a reason why they're there. But when they talk about similar uses, they look at what the attributes of those uses are when they decide whether or not they're similar or not. I don't, from a defending whatever is in there standpoint, I don't have a problem per se with similar use language. It's just, what is it you're trying to regulate?
And it wasn't evidently it would be one of the character of a aspect of what you want. So the real question comes down to he's probably right, that either should have it in or you shouldn't have it. Either with the policy itself.
I guess another
I
question.
just know that marinas and car sales and those kinds of things have never been here. Since I've been here, so.
And of course, another question is, has it ever jumped up and caused us problems?
Well, like I said, somebody wanted to fix scooters, and the decibels were too high, so we used a restriction on that. It was on the street. It wasn't just fixing cars, not like Jerry's in the back or something, but right on the street. It was at Laurie Lane. And we said, no, you couldn't do it. We wouldn't allow the scooter business. And I don't know if that would be in here as another similar business. Nothing says scooter business.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's best to have it in or not.
I would think the last sentence was the city would place limits on the appearance of car repair establishments would give you a precedent for some different type of repair establishment, so you wouldn't have to have anything else. It's just a question of what you want in terms of the policy itself.
Well, I guess to address what Joe was talking about a second ago,
the issue about small engine repair, that's what it was, a small engine repair, not per se scooters. It's just, you deal with small engine repair, and whether it's if you're gonna do it outdoors, then there are decibel limitations as far as, because of how the city's set up, basically, you just have the commercial along A1A and South Patrick, and then it's immediately abutting residential, so do you want somebody having engines constantly going in their backyard, so to speak? And that was part of the reason why they did that.
Is that a similar business
To car sales and
marinas?
And Jim, yeah, so that's in the,
That'd be a
that's what I'm saying, it's
that'd be a
subjective.
different thing.
So how far along, and I hate to, I know these are bored over there, how far along did this person get in the development process before they were told they couldn't do that use? Joe?
How far did they get?
Get along in the process
For-
of permitting and
for which?
for the scooter?
I don't think it's not prohibited. You basically, when you set up your business, it was, you just couldn't operate at a higher than X number of decibels.
Okay.
And that's actually,
Oh, it was in the
that's
LDRs,
actually-
okay, I misunderstood.
That's in the LDRs, not in the
And
comprehensive
the
plan.
comp plan says limits on the appearance, but the audio stuff is usually in your LDC.
I don't remember seeing it, but that's okay. 1.5, policy 1.2.10, city shall continue to pursue grant funding. I think that's should be may continue to pursue. If there's no grant funding, you obviously can't continue to do that. 1-5, shall is mandatory.
Okay.
I'm going to skip over some of this other stuff. Talk to me about transfer of development rights. Where is that even feasible in the city of Satellite Beach, where you would transfer development rights?
Generally, you transfer development rights when you have a situation where you've got an environmental area you're protecting, or it's a particular area that would be ascending area that you want to preserve that area for something less intense, and then you would send it to an area that would be a receiving area that wouldn't be able to.
I just don't understand where we even have that in Satellite Beach.
I don't know that we have it anymore. There were some transferred, and I don't remember how it actually practically occurred, but I believe that some of them went from east of A1A, and I don't remember where the exact locations were, and they moved them to the base property, I think, so that they could have the extra units in the HUD.
All below,
Yeah.
in a higher density area.
But I think there may be a handful of units left that can be used for, but again, I mean, I know it happened, but I don't know exactly how it was implemented.
And it was set up for a particular area, but to my knowledge, I'm not sure that they've actually implemented what is there.
I think we need to look further into that and find out if that section really, or that policy needs to be in our comp plan.
Well, the reason it may want to be there is because if there is something to protect from an environmental standpoint or any sort of reason, there's a general reason where you may want to use the TDR. If you take it out, then you don't have the ability to use the TDR unless it's in the comp plan. So it's kind of like an enabler. I mean not enabler, but enabling clause where you've got the ability to be able to use it if you want to.
It's up to the council, but I don't really, I think it causes confusion.
So it's better out?
I do,
It's
yeah.
very difficult to administrate TDR. I don't know if you've been involved in it, but it's very difficult to administer a program because you have to figure out where the units are going to be received.
No, I understand. I just don't see with the city being whatever, what is it now, 92% developed?
Right.
Where it's really 92, it went down, yeah, with the purchase with the 100 acres. So I don't really see where it's necessary to be in our comp plan.
Now, on some of the policies that we suggested, and again, I didn't want to make you go through every single one, but in the public hearing, we will address every single one. The policies that we showed in the summary as far as that are necessary. Are we okay with those? Because those are the major ones that would be reviewed.
I think the verbiage changes look like what we asked for.
That's what you asked for.
The verbiage changes look like what we asked for. I didn't see anything missing.
Policy 1.33, do we even have a bicycle pedestrian path plan, page 2-2? And what citizens ad hoc bicycle pedestrian committee do we have? Sorry, I know it's like having root canal.
Sorry.
I thought there was a map in there that actually showed where that,
There is a map that does show the bicycle, and one time there was a committee that...
they had a plan for the entire city.
And then they were sunset once they got the thing over with, so...
Well, if we're going to go through the process of amending the comp plan, let's amend it and make it proper.
I agree.
Right.
So we need to take that out,
They got the...
because the committee doesn't exist any longer. Yeah.
And then I was concerned about this before, connecting significant destinations in the city and passing 500 feet of 90% of the residents within the city. Not even feasible or practical. Never going to happen.
Had that shown to me how it could happen, because based on the street aspect, but
We can't even put a sidewalk in here without people going nuts, though, because it takes away so much of their front yard.
That's true.
Yeah.
So you're saying completely strike 1.3.4?
Or rewrite it to a different percentage, but I don't ever believe we're going to have
Especially
90%
along
of the
Cass.
residents with a network of recreation trails connecting destinations.
what page is that again?
Then this is really a question for Jim on 2.3. The city's planning and zoning board will conduct site plan reviews. Don't we have a referendum to combine the two boards?
The referendum is to eliminate the requirement in the charter that we have separate boards.
Right.
It's up to council whether or
To
not you
determine which board it's
combine-
going to be.
Whether you combine them, and if so, the extent of the combination.
Again, we're tying our hands here by saying we don't know which one we're going to combine. It references the city planning and zoning board.
In terms, now, do they currently?
I'm not sure if you are aware of that, Jim, that we, yeah.
No, I wasn't, but I was told that the planning and zoning board currently does review your site plans, right?
But if we
What
change
you
that,
could add is just say, or such successor board as designated by city council.
There you go, because it is going to change.
Got it.
And that looks like
We had a time yet?
That's
No.
1.51?
1.51, and it looks like it comes again in 1.53.
Yeah. Or successor as designated by city council. All right.
Okay. For page 3.1, objective 1.1, because this came, This is free, free term. This unsafe building abatement code, because this came up over satellite arms, did we ever adopt? Did the city council ever adopt an unsafe building abatement code? I don't believe we have.
I don't think we did.
Yes.
Yes?
An unsafe?
Yes. No, because I've had to look at it when we were dealing with satellite arms too, so.
This is chapter 3 of the city code.
Okay.
Adoption of the villages.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
And actually another case too.
I'll talk to you about the housing element separately. The city will encourage installation of automatic fire suppression sprinkler systems in single-family homes to reduce the severity of residential fire losses.
Where are you?
3.3. I'm not a big fan of that.
But, yeah.
Automatic suppression system, fire suppression in single-family residential
but
units.
that could push house prices out of the range of a lot of folks.
Particularly when the majority of our homes are single-family or one-story.
There's something on that, and we talked about
The word encourage, one of the things might have been that the fire department gets a better rating by having something like that in there. Before we take it out, I'd like to see if that's something that encourages that the fire department can use.
Well, no, I understand, that's fine. If it does, then we need to reword it, but I would hate to see units go in the 100 acres and then this be a sticking point with the developer when he says, well, we encourage you to do this because it is very expensive.
There was a time when we were going to make it mandatory.
Well, that's even more ridiculous than
Then it was
encouragement.
on new homes, mandatory fire suppression on new homes, and then they said, no. So that's just encouraged. That may be something that lowers the fire or fire department rating by having that in there. So we could look at that.
That's a may as opposed to a shall. I mean,
it's a will.
I know, but you know how it can be used as a weapon.
Well, when ceramic tile and concrete block gets going, it's really hot.
You know what I mean? That's true. It's not mandatory.
My feeling is encourage is certainly not to put you in a position of making somebody do something.
Yeah. And it may,
Look, Jim's turning red over there.
No, I'm laughing at
Oh, okay.
I was thinking ISO rating. I'm not sure if that helps with ISO rating.
And the other thing too is that sometimes it's difficult now to know how you're perceived in all your policies, but when you encourage the kinds of things that would be safer is a good thing to do. How about you? What do you want to do?
I don't like it. And first,
It does smack of big government to me.
I would like to, before we take
like
it
that
out, or
smack
before it
of
goes
big
public,
government.
to check with the fire department.
yeah, the ISO rating.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
just to
worth,
see
that's
how
worth
it-
checking into.
What I'll do is we'll advertise showing deletion and then check, so that we have it advertised, so we know what to do.
Yes.
Okay.
I think we'll do that. We don't have any fire people here. Okay.
He was.
Okay, Tom, okay.
Next.
This one's just kind of ironic. 4-3 on infrastructure. The city, and I think a lot of you know about the house on the beach there with the overhead wires, and they can't access the front of the property to do maintenance, and it's just been a big debacle. Ann, I'll fill you in on that. Huh? Which house? Oh, 1.1.12. The city will, as resources and opportunity allow, relocate overhead utility lines underground to minimize service outages, et cetera, et cetera. And here we have this property that is bringing in thousands and thousands of dollars of tax revenue, and they can't access the front of their house because of the utility lines. I think we personally should pay for it and underground them for it since the conduit's there. But I just think that's very ironic, considering now that it's a sticking point with them accessing the front of their property.
But this says that we want to do that as resources permit.
But we haven't done it, so
You're saying we're not necessarily following.
we're not following our own comp plan. That's what's ironic.
started down the path.
I think so. So keep that one in there, actually.
Yeah, we do want to keep that in, just need to implement it.
I think that's all as far as I got. I'm sorry. Sorry, Jim. Sorry, everybody.
Here's what I suggest us to do, if you don't mind, is the plan for it is we do the public hearing and we schedule it with Lenore, whether it's to be the August public hearing or the July sometime, so that we have the public hearing, and then we'll have all these here based on the corrections that we made. In the meantime, the military policy should be, I'll be able to coordinate a little bit better with what those, and probably could schedule those also before the advisory LPA, just the military policy, because we need to have that recommendation. And that way I can tell DEO that we're proceeding on the program.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. I'd like to open this for public comment if I could. We'll still have 10 minutes. Amy? Sorry.
I'm sorry, Amy.
That's okay. Thanks for hanging out with us.
I wish I
Go,
did.
Amy.
Yeah, Amy Nisi, Brevard County School Board and a Satellite Beach resident. Yeah, I didn't know I was coming tonight. Normally I would dress better, but I was at my dentist office when I heard that was happening. In terms of the school concurrency, a couple issues. The planner spoke very well about that. Two other issues I just want to remind the council on why I don't want to touch school concurrency till I have more information is we just spent the last 3 years rezoning 86 schools, 73,000 students. And I can tell you, I would rather adopt sex education curriculum before we ever redistrict schools again. It was a horrendous process because we wanted to balance our school populations. We have certain parts of our county that have more kids than others. It wasn't very long ago that we had 32 portables sitting outside Satellite High School. Just want to remind council of that. And people that are coming to look at Satellite Beach, they want to see what kind of schools they have, and they see 32 portables sitting outside. That can scare them away real fast. So part of concurrency helps eliminate portables, and it makes our facilities more user-friendly. When we're overcrowded, we end up starting to serve lunch at 10 a.m., going up until 2 in the afternoon because we can't get them all to the cafeteria. And even though the building's not going here, I see a domino effect if the cities start doing this. And, we all know about Viera and what's sitting out there. What I'm concerned about is in order to have to accommodate those students, the overflow will start coming back beachside when we start redistricting again. So even though the growth isn't here without concurrency, we start juggling kids, and you're going to have 30 portables sitting out there again, and they're not even our students, yet it's affecting our community. So there's a lot more going on there, and knowing now that cities are looking at this, I'm going to be out there on the trail talking to cities, because just because you're not building doesn't mean it won't affect you. So please keep it in.
Thank you. Thanks for saying. Joel?
Joel Sugar, still a resident of Satellite Beach. If you give me just a couple minutes worth of leniency, I want to address what Cheryl said with the one ordinance where it says bury when you can get the funding. Department of Homeland Security has some kind of grant program. They have money somewhere, and don't ask me how I remember this. I got it from the Pentagon, where they will their program is to bury utility lines along the beach access, or along the beach. So we would qualify in there. I don't know where it is. Somebody told me about it, so if you want to have somebody research it. And the other thing was, I was part of the BRAC when I was active duty for the Navy, but I'm still a resident of Satellite Beach, so I paid real close attention to Patrick Air Force Base. And there are the studies you asked for somewhere in the Air Force, because they were up in the Pentagon when I was doing the BRAC. So they are there.
Yep. You asked for them, so we'll see.
Whether you'll get them, I won't guarantee it, but they're there, because I saw them when I was watching. Okay. Now, looking at the comprehensive plan, to me, the comprehensive city plan is supposed to be just that, a comprehensive plan. But what I see in the plan is one glaring hole, and the hole is called CRA. The CRA intersects with the CRA has an effect, millions of dollars worth of effect on the city. It's not even mentioned in the comprehensive plan. How can you have a comprehensive plan when you have an entity that can put the city in debt for millions of dollars, yet not be addressed? The CRA should be a subordinate plan to the comprehensive plan because they affect each other. And I have other things, but that's what I'm seeing. And the problem is we're voting on a CRA plan, right, and we're voting on a comprehensive city plan. You shouldn't be doing that. You should be voting on a comprehensive city plan, but discuss the CRA before that happens. Because if the CRA says, which one of the things mentioned at the CRA was, we're going to take the entire 100 acres and make it part of the CRA. How does that work into, what's the unintended consequence for the comprehensive plan? Okay. Now I'm going to end with a story real quick, because you guys talked about, I heard somebody say, basically, we do it like that because it's always been done that way. They did a study with chimpanzees, 5 chimpanzees in a room with the stairs. They put a banana on top of the stairs. Monkey would go up to get the banana. They'd spray the other monkeys with cold water. They did that until the monkey stopped going up. Then they started replacing the monkeys one at a time. New monkey in here, sees a banana, goes running up, gets the tar beat out of it by the other 4 monkeys because they don't get sprayed by water. Eventually they replaced all 5 monkeys. Not one of them was the original monkey. I'm not calling you guys monkeys. Not one of them was the original monkey, but they could put bananas up there till the cows came home, and none of the monkeys would go get that banana because that's the way it's always done. Don't fall into that trap. When you said we don't have car sales, we don't have marinas, we don't have boat sales, we don't have car sales in the city, don't guarantee we never did, because I've been here since '65, but why? Do you know the original reason? Okay?
Thank you. Other public comment? Mr. Jay.
Roger Gudis, resident of Satellite Beach. Thank you, Joel, for bringing that up and keeping the comp plan in line with the CRA. I have a question on coastal management, policy 1.4C3. It talks about, and I'll read it, the city shall encourage density increases away from known or predicted coastal high hazard areas consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the future land use element of the Satellite Beach Comprehensive Plan. This policy is not intended to prohibit or discourage maintenance or replacement of existing development within the CHHA. If a resident living in that area has a home and has to meet the new criteria based on the state, is this plan going to limit that? Or if this resident has got a smaller residence at this point that wants to potentially expand in the near future, does he have the potential to increase the size of that residence?
Yes, he does, and yes, he can.
Yes, on both? And there would be no restriction. For instance, if this house goes from 2,000 square feet to 5,000 square feet, there could be no limitation on, so long as it's a single-family residence, correct? Thank you.
The other thing to keep in mind is the coastal high hazard area is part of the plan amendment changes. Takes almost all that residential area we had out of the coastal high hazard.
You coming into some money, Ron?
That's a city council comment. You're not happy with the taxes, you want more yet.
I want to see you successful, Mr.
Barbara, public comment? Mayor?
You check your 635 civil court on the development rights that Cheryl's talking about. My memory is not good on numbers right now, but that for part of the game we were playing with DCA, they're very restrictive about how many people we have out here, like to support businesses and stuff. So to maintain that density, those units, we worked very hard with them to be able to move stuff. It's on the east side of A1A, south of DeSoto. Mm-hmm. And since all those things were one single-family development, even though they allowed high ones, we were able to take density from there and put it into the places we were talking about having mixed use. Yeah, I remember that. And so we were trying to retain that density, but we didn't want to put it there. So I'm not sure what it says in the plan right now, but be careful about taking it out, because I think it could be a really good tool for us. DCA may be getting a little easier to work with right now, I'm not sure, but before it was really difficult.
Yeah, years ago.
It took us months and years to try to get that worked out. So before we take it out, let's take a good look at it. So.
That's a good point.
Thank you. I forgot what it was.
Dale? Okay, I can't on an agenda item, I'm sorry. Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is it? You know what? We're in a workshop. So I'll let you speak in a workshop, because we're not going to make a decision. And if it were
Thank you.
Agenda item.
That's what I thought it was,
okay,
a workshop.
So let's workshop it.
Ron Jagutis, resident, Satellite Beach. When those densities were transferred, property owners in that area, and it's been, I'm trying to state this as nicely as I can, but it feels as if our property rights were taken away. Our values were taken away. When densities were restricted there and moved someplace else, the portability of it, and I understand the character of wanting a comprehensive plan, but there's monetization to those values. And it's just like we went through the whole show with the height restrictions, and that's why I asked about the size of the house. we were losing value. It was being taken away from us, shifted someplace else. And that should be carefully looked at. To me, it wasn't quite right, but I just wanted to make that comment. Thanks.
Okay, I'd like to bring it back to the council workshop. We can't make a motion, but we can give direction. So let's do that to Mr. LaRue at this time. You have most of the changes. We would like to follow your guidance on school correct me if I'm wrong, on school concurrency, and also to submit objective 1.7 with a couple of changes, which is on dealing with the Patrick Air Force Base.
Yes.
And then we...
Other corrections that we've heard tonight.
And then also other stuff, and then Cheryl will get together with you on some other issues that she'd like to discuss. And then we'll wait for the meeting. But we want the Air Force to know we made 30 June. We're okay. Yeah. Ann, do you have anything to add?
No, nothing further.
Hands up.
Does anybody else? Jim, anything else?
No, but thank you for giving us direction on that. We'll include all the things.
Thanks.
We've made.
Have a safe drive home. We're going to take 10 minutes to 8:45. We don't have much. We got like 45 minutes left. Let's go till 8:45 and take a what? Okay, 5 minutes. I just want to stand up.
7:30.
I had some sugar though.
Oh, not you.
Not sugar, right? That's okay. We'll wait for the end. Discussion on recruitment process for permanent city manager. And, what's happening, we have 180 days from today to hire a city manager. And our next meeting right now is not scheduled till July 18th. So if we push it a month, then we only have 5 months. So we want to see maybe there's a way we can proceed. We have a couple of options in front of us to proceed on headhunting, range riders, whatever. So I think it's just something to throw out to the council. So let me bring it back and see what you guys are thinking.
I was thinking along the lines of a citizen search committee. I mean, I think we've demonstrated the value of that in KPEG, and I understand too that's how we did it the first time around. I think we have some wonderfully qualified people in the community. They've demonstrated a propensity to volunteer, and I think maybe a group of 5 select individuals that we go through the selection process up here, and we interview and take applications, etc., and we give them the edict to go nationwide and look for just the right candidate. We lay down the requirements, maybe as a workshop with that group, or that group workshops and brings it back to council. And I think that'd be a viable way to go. I don't see the value in, hiring a multi-$1,000 headhunting organization, or get one of those organizations that, you give them the first 2 months' salary or whatever the heck. I just don't see that as value. I think people who have a dog in the fight are the citizens of this city, and I think we have a lot of very talented citizens who have done hiring and firing before, and they would be more than willing. I think they've shown a propensity to join groups like that, and we should do it that way. That's my opinion.
I disagree with that opinion. I believe it is I believe it is our responsibility to hire the city manager in the charter. And I believe that it's our interim city manager's responsibility. I don't necessarily agree with the headhunter, but to take us through the process, interview each one of us as to what we want, and discuss with the community, and come back with ideal candidates based on what we desire as a city council. We were elected to represent the people, and by God, 5 people are not enough for me to have on a committee based on the amount of votes and the people that I know in the community.
Well, I guess I didn't finish my point, and my point was that we would make the final decision, but those 5 people would do the the legwork required to bring the candidates to us.
I don't agree with that. I'll wait to hear from the public and the other candidates.
I'm not that familiar with range riders, but just so you know, I have something in front of me. A range rider is a group of retired city managers who assist the members in local governments. They can provide a number of services, including, to discuss recruitment. I met a couple of range riders at conventions and stuff. There is a Mark Durbin range rider, recently retired, that could discuss this with us. One way to do that. A headhunter is expensive. Somebody said the headhunter, Mike left us a talking paper, and he said it would be about $20,000 for a headhunter. So, and that's probably typical fee. Range riders, I don't think are close to that, but have a wealth of experience might be a way to start. I'm just throwing this out. I don't mean to hog the discussion, and I'll try and stay out of it.
I like the idea of using some local people, but I think we probably need to spend some money, hopefully not $20,000. It would be nice to do a nationwide search, maybe an international search of some sort, and see what kind of candidates we can get. I know we several of us get the Ken Smalls News Blast, and typically these Florida cities, when they're applying, taking applications for city manager positions, can be over 100 applicants easily, or more. And there's a lot to mull through, but I think it's worth spending some of the funds to see what we can come up with that maybe local volunteers couldn't come up with.
I know that Cape Canaveral had 100. Rocky told me he had 100 there. Lloyd, Ann, any comments on Lloyd?
Well, when we got the city manager 27 years ago, I don't think we had things like the internet and some of those other conduits like we do today. I think advertising for a city manager is going to be, getting the word out is going to be relatively easy. You know, with the ICMA and FCCMA and some of those organizations, it will not be long, all right, before the word gets out to, all 50 states and the territories that there's a small town in Brevard County right on the Atlantic Ocean looking for a city manager, okay? With that said, what we do owe Ann and the rest of us is a good job description and qualities picture of what it is we need for a city manager. And I think that's our first responsibility here, all right? But at the same time, let's get the word out that Satellite Beach is looking for a city manager and at least get a thumbnail sketch, all right, of what's out there. And if we have to refine that based on the initial response we get, so be it. But let's get the word out.
Okay. Yes, Ian.
You might want to, and I think Cheryl had a good point about going to each council person and finding out what are the qualities that you do want. And the other issue is, and I'm going to use this as not a disrespectful example, but one of the things that has been said with superintendents of schools is the little school bus comes around, one superintendent gets off and another one gets on. And you have to determine whether you want someone who's been a city manager and that's the only thing they've ever done. Do you want someone with, who's been involved, let's say, in private enterprise or nonprofits and others that can come in? They might be able to think outside of the box a little bit more, maybe minus some of the constraints that the one focus. It's just a thought.
Thank you. Yeah, we are kicking it around, so thank you for that.
Well, what I was thinking too, and maybe if you could come up with a questionnaire and sit with each I know what my constituents are looking for, and I don't have just one to put on a committee. I have many. I'm out in the community. I understand what they're looking for, and then interview each council member And then you can at least eliminate the ones that don't meet the criteria, and we can go from there.
Can I go back, Cheryl? And I think that's good. Lloyd said get the word out.
But I think you need to at least have a description of what you're looking for, so we're not inundated with a bunch of...
So as opposed to just saying city manager, Satellite Beach, I mean, we will get...
I think we want to be careful too, and that's why I was going with this committee idea, because I think they could orchestrate getting the word out better. I think we want to be careful, because I like what Ann was saying. I was thinking the same thing. I think we have to be careful that we just don't go out and get an ICMA person because he's an ICMA person. And if we go with that log that we get every day, that's what we're going to get. I'm thinking like Wall Street Journal. I'm thinking those kinds of publications that are out there that business professionals would be reading, and throw a much wider net. And that's what I was thinking with this committee. I was thinking much more personal touch, people's skin in the game. We have people out there that have done this for a living. We would take applications just like we did for whatever the last issue was that we held. I'm sorry?
Interim city manager.
Right, yeah, like the interim city manager. We take applications, we interview them in public, we put together a team of 5, the top vote getter or whatever becomes the chairperson, and we give them what our constituents want to see in a city manager. They put together, they then meld that and come back to us and say, okay, council, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go out there and we need money to advertise in Wall Street Journal, in Business Daily, in the ICMA publications, all those publications, and here's going to be our timeline that we're going to hit. And we're going to we're going to cull down this herd of 100 people that we get down to 20. And we're going to bring those 20 back to council, and council will do the interviewing of those final 20. That was the way I was thinking about it.
There's lots of different ways to get to Orlando.
You have them all. Did you read like a book of Proverbs?
Got our own Sun Tzu right here.
Michelle? I mean, what is this?
Oh, wise one.
Well, okay. You know, everything sounds good. I do think we need some professionalism. The city, I mean, if we got a group that did the KPEG,
that's awesome.
I mean, that was terrific.
Yeah.
I mean, really. I have not, nobody in this room has done this. Maybe one of you had. So we got to figure out how to do. I mean, there are.
I believe the mayor has.
Well, David, Pat Utek, were you on? Okay, Dave, you're the chairman. No, David, did you do that? I know. Okay, I know Pat Utek.
Certainly what Councilman's talking about, they did a cut through. They didn't go back to 20. They came back with a smaller number than that. 20 is going to be a big number.
Yeah, that was just.
So there were hundreds of them. No matter how you cut it down, you get hundreds of them. People just going to apply.
Yeah. So what you're thinking about is how do we wean 100?
Well, they obviously had a process to do it.
Yeah. But I do think that there's going to be some, you're right, with the internet, you know, a lot of that is free now.
Well, plus there are job search sites that will go out there and pirate other people's advertisements just to put them on their sites so it looks like they have more jobs. So the word gets out, I mean, exponentially.
I don't think that we're not going to get people. I think what Cheryl's saying, we want to get the best available, and what you're saying is we got to tell them what we want.
But you know, as Cheryl says, she has a lot of constituents who all have, you know, an idea of what they're looking for in a city manager. So perhaps a committee or a small committee that collates all those inputs into something would be.
It's not exactly what they're looking for in the city manager. It's up to the interim city manager to write the job description. It's what they're looking for in the city, for this city. And I don't think a committee of 5 is appropriate to do that. And you know, I just don't think that voice is big enough for 10,000 people. And it's going to be the same committee members.
Is it the size?
How are you going to determine who is qualified to do this?
Is it the size of the
Probably
committee, or
somebody
is it
who
the process?
It's a combination of both. The people that I'm with, my constituents are young and have children. You know, they don't want to be at a meeting. They're relying on me to make the right decision.
That is correct.
Well, I completely agree with you there.
Based on qualifications and a job description that is written in an interview process. That is our job in the charter.
Well, for those of, I mean, I've been a hiring manager in the past, and you know, I was given everything from soup to nuts as far as, you know, the type of person I needed to hire. So if we could find people in the city who have experience as hiring managers, they would be ideal.
I don't have that experience, and it sounds to me like you two have already made up your mind as far as this committee goes,
Oh,
based on
absolutely.
your friends that have experience in that. I mean, Scott's a lawn boy, right? He's a sprinkler guy, and I guess I'm a lawn girl too.
But
this is really unfair what you're doing. You're saying because you both have managerial experience, basically you're going to pick the people that you want on this committee.
No, I was.
I don't have friends that have that experience.
Cheryl, all we were doing was
No,
offering the
it's your
option.
way or the highway always.
All we were doing was offering options based upon our experience, that this is a way to do it.
Your experience.
Well, what? Okay, if we
bring
do
to
you
council,
want to go?
That's all always. It's always.
Do you
based
want to
on your
go
experience.
through? I mean, for a desirable position like this, all right. If the word is spread far and wide, we will literally get a couple hundred.
I understand that, and that's what
Okay.
the interim city manager was hired to do, is to write the job description and narrow it down. It's our responsibility to take them through that interview process. You're representing 10,000 people.
How are you going to interview 200 people?
We have a workshop just like we did with the comprehensive plan and narrow them down and take our time to do it.
200 people? Or
The
300
interim
people?
city manager is going to narrow it down to a specific number.
How is she going to do it? You just said that we should
Based on
do
the
it.
job description.
But you said we should do that.
No, she narrows it down based on the job description to a number, and then we.
Well, I didn't think we hired the interim city manager to do our hiring. I thought we hired the city manager, interim city manager, to run the
Well, I
city
had a
while we're
different
going
vision
out and
of what
doing
the
it.
interim city manager would be, unlike you. I was hiring an interim city manager that could take us through the process of going on a nationwide search to find a full-time city manager. So maybe we have a different idea of what the interim city manager was hired for.
I have a suggestion. Would it be all right with the council if I called Mark Durbin tomorrow?
No, I know Mark Durbin. I'd like to,
You
he
have
has a
another-
relationship, I think, with Mr. Crotty. I'm sorry.
Do you have another name?
I do not. I know he's a range.
I call the range writers. I mean, I just like, I don't, you know, just because he has a relationship, Mike has a relationship with everybody. I mean, you know, he knows hundreds of people, and I don't know if that's bad, but I just like to get the ball, I just like to call him and say, can you give me some guidance, and bring it back to you, and I can, Ann and I can call tomorrow, and then I'll put out an email, or she'll put out an email on just his suggestions. And I would definitely put up a local effort, a headhunter, you know, ICMA, we're looking for a CEO maybe, as opposed to a city manager. I mean, if do you know Mark? I don't know Mark Durbin at all. All I have is a name and a telephone number, and I'm willing to call him and let you know the results of that call.
My only issue with that, though, sir, is he is an ICMA kind of guy. So we're delving into that, and we're asking them to give us a different look.
Okay.
I think that's why I think we need a fresh perspective.
Okay.
Well, I think it's unfair to diss the entire ICMA.
I'm not. I'm just saying that if you go that way to begin with, you're kind of asking them to give you the answer that you might
Do
want.
you have some kind of pilots association do you belong to? Like, I mean, I'm whatever that is. I'm categorized because I'm a part of an association? That's what basically you were saying about the ICMA, like it's no good and we got to go a
No, I'm
different
not
route.
saying it's no good. I'm just saying that if you start off with them, they're going to give you that answer because that's the way they lean, and that's fine.
Hands over there waving.
May I suggest that I would be happy to come to each council person and ask what type of qualifications that you are each interested in, and then put that together so that you can actually look at that, and then at least as a starting point so that we're moving forward with that type of a thing? Is that a comfortable suggestion?
It's for me.
Yeah.
It is for me.
It's for me.
And I have to interject. I think it would be better if each council member were to, I think it would be better for each council member to provide Ann what you want in writing, because I would be concerned about whether or not she's acting as a conduit for communications between individual members of council. And basically, on those conversations, she's going to be reducing potential options to what a recommendation would be. So I have a concern about sunshine law for that particular issue. But if you put it all in writing, and I don't know per se, I guess we can talk about it after that happens, and may be able to then have individual conversations with each council member about what they have on their inputs.
And then would we put those on an agenda item so we know what each other?
However you want to do it after that happens, but I'm just saying as far as I just have a concern with individual conversations to reduce the options to a final product, so to speak.
Cheryl, is that, and what I would ask that you do tomorrow at some time is to send us an email with exactly what you want and a suspense date or a date that you want these items back by. You think about it, it doesn't have to be Friday. I mean, just you pick the date that you can work with, that you want us to get the inputs, either qualities or whatever you'll be looking for.
Okay, and I'll get that to you by Friday. How does that sound?
It's fine.
Okay.
You got a full plate. Yes. Is that okay? All right. Since this is an agenda item, I would like to open this for public comment. I see you, Joel. I want to see how many I got. Okay, I got 3. Joel. And we're just talking about a recruitment process. That's all, and that's the agenda item. And we're struggling.
Okay, Joel Sugars, still a resident, still. I'm trying to figure out what Councilman Dean's objection is, sitting out there as a not unusually gifted individual in the audience. I have a problem with the interim making any decision on who gets seen by the council, because she could very well be putting her application into B1 and it's conflict of interest. So it certainly is conflict of interest if she's making a decision who to forward to you guys and she's in the running. So as far as getting this stuff together, as far as what you're looking for, that's not a problem. I was told size doesn't matter, so I don't understand what Councilman Dean's problem is with a committee of 5. Is 10 enough? Is 100 enough? All they're doing is gathering the information based on what you've decided, weeding through them and forwarding on to you to make the decision. You're still making the decision for the city. What I heard before is, get them down to the interim city manager and have her send them up. So you said 5 wasn't enough, but 1 was okay. This is just like any other CEO search committee you have in private business. They get a committee of however many you guys decide, and you are representing the people, so you decide the size of the committee. And it's just a CEO search committee. They go out and find qualified candidates based on the criteria you have, put them before you guys interview them, the committee doesn't interview them, you guys interview them. So that's get a citizens committee, fine.
Thank you. Don? And then Dana, you do next.
Don McClendon, citizen of Satellite Beach. Hey, Mr. Billman said something about the Wall Street Journal. I'll start reading it tonight, probably around 11, and I'll finish around 1 or 2. I do that just about every night. I read it front to back. And I don't think I've ever seen an advertisement for a city manager in the Wall Street Journal. And I don't mean to demean your grandeur or efforts of how to do this search, but I think that's a little further away than Orlando. I don't think this is as a complicated process as is being put forth by you people here. 4 of you were elected to office. 2 have been appointed. She's not in office, city manager. I just don't see where this is going to be such a huge undertaking, and this bickering, I'm seeing this power struggle going on. That's not necessary. You were elected, you were elected, you were elected. You are elected based on the citizens of Satellite Beach having hope in your abilities to serve us and to do the will of the citizens, and I think you're all trying to do that. But if we start this power struggle again, we'll get right back to where we were. So that, to me, is not necessary. And the only other thing I would say is I don't know Ms. Samuelson's political desires or job desires, but if it's proven over time or is obvious over time that the department heads here in City Hall are finding it perfectly are in the city and she's doing a great job as city manager, I don't see, if she wants to run, I don't see where that has a bearing on anything. If she's doing a job that she's been hired to do as an interim, Mr. Mayor, you mentioned training in place, I think, during the selection process. That's out of the box. What happened last week was out of the box. My prediction, I don't think you're going to find it works very well. Thank you.
Thank you. Dana?
Dana Billman, resident. I like the idea of the Citizens Committee, but I've said that from the very beginning that I like that idea. But I think 5 is way too small. I think we need to have more people on it, and especially at the beginning. I think we need to have a lot more input, and we need to make sure that all of the interests in Satellite Beach. It's a very multi-generational community now, and I think we need to have a very multi-generational representation on the board. I think we need to be able, not just the council members get their information of this is what we're looking for. I know you think you guys talk to all the people, but there's a lot of people that have, different. The 2 people in this room that share the same name have very different views on a lot of things. So I think 5 is way too small, and I think we should do more of a citizens thing, and that, maybe not quite like the charrettes were, but a lot of people come together and people are able to, and maybe have it at a time that's a little more convenient. I don't think we should rule anybody out. I don't think any qualifications should be ruled out. I think regardless of, I personally like opening up and not just having professional city managers. I like that. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a city manager out there that might not be the most wonderful one for our city. So I think we need to just be, once again, very open to any possibilities and, throw our things to the wind and see what we get that comes back. And I think with today, with social networking and the internet and all the ways that people advertise, I don't think we're going to have any problem getting people that work for our city.
Can you suggest a number?
Well, I don't know, maybe at the beginning, even if I don't know, what it was at the KPEG that we went to, how many people were on that? 12? 15? No, that we went to something, and there was a whole lot more people.
KPEG?
No, not KPEG, the CPAB or whatever.
Oh, the comp board.
Okay, the comp board. I mean, we had 12 people sitting at that thing. I mean, that's, you could get a large, wide swath of differing views, which is what I think we need on this committee, because I think people need to be able to stand up and say what they believe and why they believe it, and everybody needs to be represented. I mean, just because I have this view doesn't mean that the other person has it. So we need to have enough people on there that we don't get groupthink, because this is not the time to have groupthink.
Thank you.
Andy Grimm, resident of Satellite Beach. I agree with you, Councilwoman Dean, that citizens being in a position to have editorial license over the selection is a dangerous thing. She's right about you guys having the authority and the responsibility. Only you guys get to decide. However, I do believe the volume of traffic is going to be more than 100. I suspect that the list will have a comma in it. So that kind of dictates an environment with regards to the qualifications, is that there's a couple of things. Number one is legal guidance on what can be used as an objective criteria for hiring or not, or either selection or not, but also with regards to all of these requirements and desires in the city manager, they have to be phrased in such a way that somehow they fall into the following categories. One is binary yes or no. So if we're talking about minimum education requirements, phrase it in such a way that's either yeah, they meet it, no, they don't. Then there are other factors that are more, I guess you would say, graduated on a scale of 1 to 5 or a scale of 1 to 10, whatever the number may be, such that there's some rapid way to go through and evaluate the application of each person, and not for the citizens to say, the citizens can look at an application and say, yes, they have met the education requirements or not. But then when you get into other graduated stuff, there has to be a way that that information is provided to the council so that they can efficiently evaluate it without having the citizens decide who you get to see and who you don't get to see. And then the last portion of the decision factor has to do with that X factor. There's a flavor of either the way that their application is put together, certain words that they use that tend to motivate people in a certain direction of desiring. So my bottom line is this. Number one is making sure that whatever decision that the city council makes is done legally responsible. Or, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to say. Number two is develop the job description in conjunction with an evaluation criteria that would allow for the rapid processing of a large volume of traffic so that we can call the thing down. But it's not based on what I like or don't like. It's just the way it is. If we mandate that a person have a 4-year college degree and they don't, well, they don't. So that's it. It's a yes or no answer. So from that, when the decision is finally made, there are no questions as to what gates the city council walk through to make those decisions. And furthermore, it's not going to be about what one person wanted over another person wanted. It would be wonderful if the city could evaluate a decision made by the city council and say, yes, that was a prudent, reasonable decision, regardless of who voted for it. That's it.
Wow. Thank you, Andy.
I do what I can.
Other comments? Mayor Schechter, do you have anything to add? Because I know I'm sorry, David, but because you were on the initial, and I know it's changed a lot. You were not hiding enough, David, so I'm sorry.
David Schechter, 635 Civil Court. Yes, I was trying to remember, there were 5 or 7 of us on the committee, I can't remember the time. And we did pre-screen them. And as I remember, you're asking, got to go back 30 years now. An old guy to go back 30 years. But the council set the criteria that they wanted to look at. There was some judgment involved. Now, someone you can look at, the guy can't spell today, and you're saying, that's probably not the guy for us. So there's some things that jump at you pretty quickly. I mean, if you've hired people, you see those things. So there's going to be a bunch of them who just sent them because they need a job. You can do that. But they can be a proper screening thing for you. The committee did not make the decision. We gave a certain number of them to the council. They did the interviews. They made the decision. And I think then at the same time, as it turned out, there was a police chief job open. We did that one too. That was made to the city manager. And he had the opportunity to look through all the applications too, but the process is to cull it down for you a little bit. 'Cause I think you're going to put a lot of emphasis on yourself. If you try to do 200 or a couple hundred applications yourself, some of them are going to be really obvious, I think. And I think if you get a good committee to look at it with some criteria from you, you can do that. And maybe Andy, we didn't do exactly how Andy talked about it, but that can be a real help. But they can really help you do that, I think, without being ugly or anything else. I think they can do that for you, and you can make that decision.
Mr. Mayor, do you remember how many you actually brought to council to be interviewed?
I think it was on the order of 5 or 6. It was really small number.
Okay.
I have to go back and look. It's been too many years right now. I have to go back and check, but it may have been more than that. But it was less than 10.
Out of hundreds? Out of 100 or?
Oh yeah, it was over 100. And that was back in the dark ages. Before we had internet, we didn't have anything. The word will get out. You know, if you work with some of these organizations, once you get started, the word will get out, and particularly today with internet. But all these organizations and people will come out. So you won't have a problem getting applications. The trick is to get the one you want, or at least a half a dozen or so that you get a chance to look at. I think it's the X factor where you get to choose that. Does that help you?
Yes, thank you. Other public comment? Okay, we'll bring it back. Somebody can explain up here the purpose of a headhunter. Is that just to do what we want to do, for them just to put the word out, and for a headhunter would not judge, would they?
No.
They would just collect?
Well, we use headhunters to advertise for a specific,
We is the company that you're in now.
the company that I'm in now.
Okay.
We say we need a so-and-so with these qualifications, and those headhunters know what organizations, schools, whatever, to go out to look. And then they grab a bunch of resumes or applications and say, these are the people who meet your first level criteria. Over to you.
It's actually, this was just, I didn't have this in the agenda package. It explains it. They include interviewing the council to determine the specific needs, desires of the council for the new city manager, and obviously the city manager represents the people in the community. Development of prospectus and profile, advertisement, review and ranking of applications, background and verification of qualifications and experience, and preparing a recommended shortlist and assisting with the interview and selection process.
So we would be handing that analysis over to a company, a headhunter company. That initial analysis would be done not by us or by citizens.
Right.
If we created our own headhunters to do this, I have full faith in our citizens after seeing what they did. Would that be okay if we created our own headhunters to do these things?
In other words, make that the duty requirements of the committee?
I'm opposed to it. I just, we talk about a new era, a cultural change, a change in the makeup of this community after 26 years, and you're going back to the same old process. Sorry. It's a new era.
That assumes we'd be using the same criteria that was used before, and I submit that probably wouldn't be so. I wouldn't imagine it'd be so.
And this is committee policy, by the way. So.
Okay. Suggestions.
I'm suggesting go with the headhunter to get and work with the city manager or the city manager get us to that point. It'll be impartial, it'll be non-biased, it'll get us to a point, and we'll have 10 or so to interview based on an outside entity.
Even at the cost of $20,000, I think it's okay.
You got to pay for something sometime. This is the biggest decision the city has made in 27 years. Is it worth 20 grand or not?
But it goes, I don't mean to argue, but it goes against your initial criteria that you said that we needed to be the ones to make the
I didn't say the decision on the 200, but I don't believe a committee should be narrowing down the criteria for us. If it's an outside headhunter, I'm fine with it because it'll be a non-biased, impartial entity based on the criteria that's coming back through us as elected officials. We're trying to get rid of committees, and yet you're creating another one.
You know what? I think we are working with figures that we don't know are true. Like 20,000 could be 5,000.
I don't.
I mean, I don't know, and maybe we need to figure out the different costs on going with ICMA, range riders, headhunters, and local. And if there is a big disparity, what do you have? Do you have a?
There's prices, I mean, if you.
Oh, is that the Cocoa Beach one? Okay.
Right, there's prices in the back there. They talk about costs for job center advertising rates and things like that.
Let's see that, okay.
Very there, all these. It's like, this is, I think, particularly as it pertains to the ICMA, they list 9,000 members, and
But this doesn't cover all the different, this does not cover all of the different ways of going about looking.
oh, no,
All this covers
no,
is
that's just
ICMA.
one way,
Yeah.
one way.
Yeah.
But again, there's costs associated with any of it.
It's hard for me to proceed when I'm here now without knowing costs. I mean, if it's going to be 50,000 for a headhunter,
Typically, they get 10% of whatever the annual salary is.
Well, why don't we do it this way? Why not for the interim, we do what we initially said we were going to do and have Mrs. Samuelson collect our inputs to put together a job description. So at least we get moving with the process, and at the same time, do an internet search or something for costs for headhunter organization. And then we can come back and discuss costs of a headhunter organization versus having a standing committee of citizens.
yeah. I think that's, because we're just sitting here and we're throwing around figures that we really don't know.
Right.
And that doesn't help any of us. ICMA is going to charge us, headhunters will charge us, FCCMA will probably charge us, and headhunters. And, but Cheryl is also right, though, too. We don't want to go with lowest bidder. This is not a lowest bidder option. This
We went
is
with the highest bidder on snow cones, and look where we ended up.
Oh my God! This is a.
I think you'll find that
Snow cone list.
if we put together a job advertisement, that you can put a month-long listing in Career Builder for a fairly reasonable amount of money.
Career Builder.
And
Is that .com?
Yeah, careerbuilder.com. And once Career Builder gets a hold of it, Monster will have it, Jobs Kebab will have it. I mean, all these other places will have it.
So then we get more than
You
just.
basically get free distribution from there.
Okay.
And I mean, that's a good national company to start with, all right, as far as getting the job advertisement out there. So, I mean, there's a lot, again.
Okay. And I like ICMA also, and I agree with you. If you're going for a school principal, not a school principal, but a school superintendent, he has to have probably a PhD in education. So if you don't have a PhD in education, that's a criteria.
You can put together score sheets that will make it easy. I mean, if we put together, you know, basically a list of qualifications, all right, that we want, you know, with divided into must, like, you know, good, you know, that type of thing, and that gives a panel whether gives them something objective to score. You know, if we want them to have the candidate to have a master's degree, if we want them to have some sort of professional certification, if we want them to
maybe that's what we
have a certain number of years of experience. I mean, there's lots of things you can put on a score sheet that essentially gives a panel or a group of people the ability to cull the number of resumes down to something that we, as a council, can manage and then make an informed decision.
And this initial effort, I think we can do that. We can lay that foundation to come back, and then we can decide. Once we have the data, we can decide: are we better off to go with a headhunter organization, or are we better off to go with the community?
I think page 5 of this probably has the 80% solution as far as what we're looking for in the way of the city manager.
Okay.
That's page 5 of the Welcome to Cocoa Beach City Manager Prospectus.
Oh, okay, I got that.
But, I mean,
The ideal candidate?
right, just, I mean, that gives you sort of it's not the ideal candidate, probably for Satellite Beach, but at least it gives you the tenor of what a small city is looking for, one who's, perhaps in a state of transition, and then you just redline it.
I agree.
Add to it.
I think on the table we have that Ann is going to put out an email by Friday.
That's a good first step.
And we got to get the criteria that we're looking for.
And can we ask her if we can stratify it right away in required versus desired? When we send you the criteria, we'll put, blah, blah, blah required, blah, blah, blah desired.
You can. Maybe it's better just to brainstorm initially with the qualifications and just kind of let it flow, and then maybe rank or whatever. I mean, because sometimes that can inhibit the flow of ideas, I think.
Okay. Let's get it. We'll get it to you. Give us a suspense date of some time. Okay. Is that okay? And then we'll get the ball rolling.
And then also we were going to ask her to do the research into cost of the organization.
Welcome, man. All right. Let's press on, and thank you for your comments, everyone. Agenda item number 11 is a Beachcast update. Ian, do you have...
How about 25 words or less on this one?
Take the pass on this?
Well, no. Now, I did, one thing I want to mention is that I did hand out the Shore News. Everyone has a couple of copies of that, just to give you an idea. And on that website, www.spranews.com, and this is for the unincorporated area that we've done for many, many years, and we feel it's been getting a little bit better over the years. It is a 501c4 organization, so we do some spotlights on candidates and that type of thing, but Satellite Beach might also want to do a spotlight on council candidates and that type of thing too. So I don't know, again, as the attorney, you'd have to, I mean, it's a little bit different to be an HOA, a voluntary membership in a residents association and being a city. So there might be some things that, that would play in here, Jim, that you would have to advise on. But I use Flamingo printing on that, and on the website it shows up in color. We print it black and white and distribute it, and we print about 2,600 copies and distribute it. It's actually hand delivered to every person, plus they can see it online. So the minutes are in there in brief, but it does give people a flavor of what's happening, invites them to come. The meetings are their meetings. The input that they bring will show up in the minutes, and it makes it their organization. And without communication to your community, not having a Beachcast or some other vehicle, I think is a real detriment to getting people involved, getting citizens involved. They'll see something and go, wow, I might be interested in that. Or, and then encourage volunteerism too, which seems to be one of the issues of council.
I noticed there's advertising.
Yes, and what that is very low-cost advertising that we provide. And I think we bring in about $7,000 a year revenue. Now, you'll see Satellite within the jurisdictional boundary of Satellite Beach, we have Jim Strutman. He said he's got an ad in there for Ace Hardware. He has told me that that has brought in customers because all businesses are struggling right now. So one of the things that we've done, you will talk about being business friendly, is we've offered very, very low cost advertising to local businesses.
We've discussed that.
That's very important. But again, that may be something different with the city of Satellite Beach. How do you choose those how do you select those ads? Are people going to be upset if they're not selected? I mean, there's only so much room. So some of those things, you know, are a legitimate thing, you know, legitimate discussion issues.
And who puts this together?
Pretty much me. Someone else and myself. We have an advertising coordinator, and we work with Flamingo Printing. And one particular person puts this together, and you could, you know, I could work with Flamingo Printing. They don't have to print it, but she can do the mock-up. I mean, she can get it already in PDF format and that type of thing and get paid for that work. And I'm not sure what she might only charge $100 or whatever. And once you get a format, too, she might be able to reduce it. I'm not sure the initial cost of setting it up. But she's good, and, you know, but it just depends on what you can do legally. I would think, Jim, with regard to what we're doing, you know, I'm not sure how that will transfer, but it has met some of the objectives that the city's talking about, too, business-friendly, communication, and that type of thing.
How much does it cost you a month?
About $1,000 a month, but that includes delivery of about $250. So the printing alone is going to run about probably $750.
So if we just did it quarterly, and we had this sort of advertising.
Well, but you'd have more, right? But you'd have more because you. How many would you be actually printing? How many would you?
5,200, I think.
Okay, so it's double that. So you figure double the cost, yeah.
Well, it would be 4,900.
It was
Are we
like
going
4,000.
to, would we actually, she actually, do you deliver them to every house?
Yes.
So,
And she pays
Some are
about
paying-
$250.
We pay about
They
and
pay
it's
someone to
one
do
of
that.
our volunteers who you know, a retired gentleman who makes the rounds, and they put it in the plastic bag with the rock, and hopefully they don't hit too many people's cars when they do that. But you know, that's what we do, but we also have it on the website too, so you can visit it there.
This is the sort of thing we were looking for.
Yeah, months ago, yeah. Another thing too we had talked about is setting up districts in the community. I do the high school flags with the donations every year, and you know, it's no big deal to hit 100 houses in an evening while you're going on your walk. So I know that there are people in the community that are willing to deliver, you know, in their extended neighborhood.
Right.
If we just get them to them or they pick them up, it can be done. no
Right, there are
problem.
other ways of doing
Yeah.
that. This is just the
Yeah.
way we do it. I think Al needs the money, so we keep him, you know, moving around once a month.
Would he be willing to do it for us for once a quarter?
I don't know, you never know.
Be worth asking.
You know, I think we all like the idea, when we talked this afternoon, if you take this on yourself, I think it's too much of an undertaking. We have a committee in place. You might be able to use some volunteers to help you with this.
Well, I think that's essential to get them, and in talking with Chief Pearson, we talked about the fact that he's got to have certain notices, I think what it is for
Right.
property that's stolen property? Found property.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's get back to the committee, because do we really have a committee?
Not that I've seen recently.
Well, look,
I think we have
don't
a
think
self-appointed chair who quit, and then we have Steve who quit, and who were the other people on the committee? So we really need to establish a committee,
Well,
a real committee with a
and I'm
chairman.
not sure that's going to be too difficult if you have help from the city.
Because there are-
Maybe a little guidance
There
there
are a lot of
again.
people that have offered to help with this endeavor, including hosting a web page, photography, that hasn't happened. So we really need to establish a true committee that meets regularly and has a dedicated chairman, and maybe a vice chairman.
And that will help you also. I mean, this is nice, but you're going to be busy in the next couple
Well,
of months.
and
right?
don't forget, you would have your department heads sending in information, because citizens want to know what's happening there and that type of thing too, so they would be contributing.
And actually, the Future Care Service has never come out other than the original hard copy, but I actually wrote 3 articles, 2 community-based articles and 1 on the CRA and the updates, but of course, I don't mind writing articles as
See,
well.
and that's the other thing, and
I'll put that
council,
already out there.
and council could contribute on certain issues that are hot button issues or whatever, and that would be great.
So it sounds to me like we need to find some volunteers to,
We need a committee that is dedicated to a certain time frame and certain tasks, and they're out there.
yep. I'd like to do something.
And actually, the
for-
template is, I have the template. All you have to do is insert, not Steve's template, but the Beachcaster template. All you have to do is insert the data.
It's nice.
I was actually going to take on the endeavor myself, but I didn't get around.
Scott?
I'd like to do something in the short term. I talked with Mike Crotty last week, and we talked about the Beachcaster. Since the election, we have had no communication with the residents of Satellite Beach. We've always had the Beachcaster. They've had that to ground them, to have that on their kitchen table, like, hey, look, there's Mary Jo there. What's he got to say? And it's really good. It's been a great thing. We've lost all that communication with 10,000 people over the last 6-8 months, ever since the election. Don't want to be disrespectful. The Florida Today controls everything that goes out about our city. They've controlled it. They've manipulated it. They've just said whatever they want. It's not fair that somebody outside our city is controlling everything and all the perceptions of our city. We haven't had our department heads' words on the pages or newly elected council members. That's a bad thing. I think I would propose that each of us write a one-page something, and let's just get it out there. Let's get it out there next week. Week after, the department has, let's get a little 10-page something or other and get it out there. Let's get it out there and say, we're working on it, and then we'll get the committee going in the meantime. But let's get something out there. Let's get our voice out there, because every day, Florida Today's got something about us on there and working us. So that's my suggestion.
Well, in the short term, if we were to do that, in other words, if Councilwoman Medina could provide you with the format and we could provide you with the copy to put in it, do you think that you could get something out in the short term and then we go to a committee for the long term?
We got to have boots on the ground to get it out there, though.
That's the point, too. And then the other issue is to make sure you get it to everyone.
Right.
Well, there was suggestions on Beachcast, either, for the hard copy was expensive. So we thought that, and that was the reason that we went to electronic.
Mm-hmm.
And then have some hard copy too to be delivered. And some people said, I'll deliver them to the people that can't. We can deliver them to everybody. It does get challengingly expensive.
Right.
I think so. We can do something, and I like Scott's idea. I know what Scott's saying, because we don't have, although the next town hall meeting is yours, in July, August, and September, so that's a way to get your points out too. But he wants to just be able to communicate. We can do that through the website. We can do that through something like this. We do need to get you some money, though, or have somebody come in and say, I need X amount of dollars. There's no money in the budget for people.
You mean I don't have to take this out of my salary?
Well, you may. Some people may suggest Well, the $50 a month they'll give you. There are a lot of things coming up. I know even tonight we've strapped you with a lot of things. This is a great thing. But like Cheryl says, she wants to have a Beachcaster committee. And I got to tell you, and I say this all the time, they ran on the platform to get the Beachcaster going. Right?
Not true. It came as we were running. The people wanted the Beachcaster back.
Right.
Okay.
It was bring it back. It wasn't. Yeah.
But I mean, you were an advocate as opposed to.
Yeah, I'm still an advocate.
Okay, so we want to do it.
So if we were to supply you with copy and you get the format, could you put something together, come back to us and ask us for how much it would cost to get out the initial issue?
We need to do that.
I could, and I think what I would do is I'd go, because Flamingo Printing, I've been associated with another organization as well as SPRA, and, I do trust them to help out. And again, if you've got the template, the other thing I just want to remind council is that we're looking at the budget here too as we're coming up, and I'm starting that tomorrow with Brenda, and that's something, and I wanted to bring you a couple different scenarios so that you could look at options. So, I mean,
I know.
time is, and I'm not saying it can't be done, but what are your priorities for me to do too on that? There is a slight learning curve, no matter, if I'd been a city manager in 10 other cities, this is Satellite Beach. So there are some unique attributes as well in getting to know what to do. So that would be the only cautionary note. I mean, we are looking at a couple big issues here. CRA is the next meeting on the 27th. So that's the only thing. Why don't you let me see, and maybe, Cheryl, we should talk, too, about what, you know, just let me take a look at that template and that type of thing and see what I can put together. But, again, there's some big stuff happening here that is mandatory, that must be done.
I appreciate her honesty, too. I think we need to set a more reasonable time to get it out and get the committee involved. And I can get some of the contacts who had also offered photography services and or hosting. Yes. That were kind of turned away by the initial committee that could be integral.
Yeah, and I'd love to work with.
I can help get this thing off the ground.
That would be
not
good.
next week or in 2 weeks.
Well, and I know that I've billed myself as Superwoman, but it's really not true.
Well, I still have a blank template.
Did I get public comment on this yet? Okay, I'm going to get it now. Public comment. Michelle? I heard a didn't I? Did you go
Michelle French, city resident. I think the common denominator, the one aspect of Ann's beach or paper is that it has advertisement.
Yes.
That has been our constraint, is the money, and this is a way to generate some revenue. And we've already figured out that we can limit or have some control over who advertises if we only allow our city businesses to advertise. We don't have anyone in the city that we would not be out there. So I think the advertisement is a big part of it, and I don't know how we go about it. I would like to know, that would be part of what I would be interested in you guys gaining the information on, is how do we present something to get the ads, to encourage that. And it also falls under the whole idea of being business friendly, especially for our businesses. So I really feel very strongly that we need to have advertisement. I think that was the one thing that was missing. I think it's the one thing that will generate some revenue and will help us in the long run keep the Beachcaster going long term. Thank you.
So are you volunteering to be on the committee?
Andy?
That was a yes.
Good.
Andy Groom, Satellite Beach resident. Mrs. French had a very salient point, and that is that if the businesses are authorized in Satellite Beach, then I don't anticipate any potential problems with their advertisement. I mean, I read the city codes about who's allowed to have businesses in Satellite Beach and who's not. So we're not going to have a problem. And as long as that can be worded, if you want to advertise in this paper, you have to have a business in Satellite Beach, I think we should be good. But she's smart, you should listen to her.
Don't let it go to your head.
Dana Billman, Satellite Beach resident. I think that's true, and I agree with both of the females on the council. But maybe we can get it started or something. I know there's a lot of people who'd be willing to really kick it up. I don't want to be on a forever committee and do the Beachcaster. That isn't a strength of mine, and that isn't something I'm interested in. I mean, I'd like to see it come back, but I don't want to be the producer of it. But I'm willing to the first one out the door, and I think there's a lot of people that if we kind of put the word out to say, hey, listen, we need some boots on the ground for this first issue to help it, because I think it is very unrealistic to expect the new city manager. There's a lot of other things that are happening in the place that we're coming into. And I also think it's not realistic to expect Councilwoman Deanan to do our Beachcaster, because obviously we have a lot of other things for her to do too. So I don't know if there's a way to get it out or something, but to sort of rally the troops and just say this first one, it might not be the best one we've ever put out, it might not be whatever, but it gets it started. But the main thing it does is it lets the businesses know, hey, this is coming, this is what we've got, you've got a home business, you've got this, you've got that. Suddenly people see possibilities, and that's what we're trying to sell here, is the possibilities are there.
Thank you. All right, let's bring it back for direction.
So it seems like we need a leader. We need a committee leader. Michelle?
I don't want to be the leader. I will take the direction. If Ann can give me direction, but I don't want to lead. I don't
Okay.
want to be.
I think that.
And I'm like Dana, I don't want to be on a forever committee. It's
So would
not-
Dana and Michelle like to coordinate with Ann? At least for this initial effort?
I think that,
Thank you.
thank you.
Otherwise, we're just talking about it.
All right, next agenda item. That's done. You want to make a motion? No, we don't need that. All right, I'm sorry. Agenda item number 12 is Florida League of Cities annual conference is coming up down in Hollywood, Florida, 23 to 25. We need someone to go and also to be the voting delegate.
That was going to be my question. Do we need, I mean, what's being voted on? It wasn't evident from the
You
past.
vote on the amendments that the Florida League of Cities brings up to send forward to Tallahassee. And also, that's the big thing. See, each member of the Florida League of Cities has a committee, like Transportation Committee. Their number one agenda item is to
Okay, so
increase
what you're
rapid
saying is
transportation.
policy. There are policy issues, city policy issues that's going to be going up to the legislature.
That's correct.
Okay, that's all I needed.
And the voting delegate, usually it's on Saturday morning, early, 9 o'clock, and only the voting delegates go.
I think we should only send one person, and if that's the requirement. Send
So-
one person and minimize it.
Right, who would like to go? I mean, you want to go, you go all the time.
You can go.
Well, it said,
You can go. If you should go. If you can't go, yeah, you should go. Absolutely, you should go.
I mean, I don't mind, I love to go.
You go.
You go. I make a motion
Okay,
that we approve attendance of the mayor at the Florida League of Cities annual conference, August 23rd to 25th in Hollywood, Florida.
I'll second the motion.
any public comment? Okay, Lenore? What? Yes?
President, did you ask these other two council members if they were interested in going?
Yes. I don't know.
Well, it's definitely open. Cheryl, you want to go? Do you want to go? Because I know school's in session. Okay, go. Lenore? Thank you. I mean, I enjoyed it.
Medina?
Yes.
Councilman French?
No.
Vice Mayor Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilman Billman?
Yes.
Mayor Fontaine?
Yes. Motion's approved 4-1. Budget issues. Ian?
Yes, that's it, item 13. We're going to be holding that budget meeting on June 27th, and that's for basically looking at the CRA board, looking at the staffing structure. And in my conversation with Mr. Sala, it could be a long meeting, and Mayor and I talked about that today. It could be a very long meeting, dealing with the CRA, dealing with planning and zoning and the building department and so on. So what part of the budget do we want to throw in there? Probably not. can we then set up, and that's part of all of this, or should I mention that now?
Yes,
To
definitely.
set up the week of July 9th, a first budget workshop, so that we can be prepared for the July 18th meeting, at which we're going to dig deeper into the budget. And, because we're getting, what is there, one council meeting, which is July 18th. So unless we set up some kind of a budget workshop, we're just going to be diving in, and I think we need that preparation and the heads up for you to start making some decisions and looking at budget options so we can move ahead as quickly as possible. And if you have any other questions, then that can be brought to the July 18th meeting when we're going to be discussing the budget.
My only issue is I'm going to be out of the country from the 6th through the 15th. But you don't need me.
I'm going to be gone then.
And you're gone.
I won't be out of the country, but I'll be. One of our suspenses is we have to send a tentative millage rate by about 30 July.
Right.
Tentative millage, and that goes forward, and then we can work with that. But it looks like, and we have a good handle, maybe on a budget workshop, we should do a couple in July. 2 public hearings in September, and that finalizes the budget, but between July and August, we need to get that done. We have to set the tentative millage rate, and we have a budget workshop.
Why don't we do back-to-back meetings on the 27th and 28th?
I don't think it'll be, see if it'll be ready.
It means June.
June.
Yeah, I know. Will the budget workshop be ready? Will we be ready for a budget workshop?
I'll know more tomorrow morning because I'm meeting with Brenda, and we're going to start at 9 o'clock looking at what we have.
That would be the...
I don't know. I really don't know. And I don't think she was sure today either. So the point is we're really going to have to look at it and see where we go. And I know she certainly knows what she's doing on that. So maybe we would be able to, but I really don't feel confident in saying yes right at this point in time.
Is Richard Sala going to make sure that he gets us his
Yes, I
material
called him, and
time?
I'm going to call him again. I did speak with him yesterday and reminded him that we need that information for, by the 21st, because we have to give public notice. So I'm going to make sure I call him again tomorrow, early. So I did yesterday, and...
How about 18 and 25 July? Is that too late? Or, I mean, it's really...
Well, if you've got other issues that come up, you're really limited then. That if you could run into a real snag, I'm the kind of person that likes to be ahead of the curve, not almost behind it. So what if you run into some other issues that you want researched and so on, and we are running out of time? So that's up to council.
Okay, let me ask you, Ann, what do you have in mind for this meeting? To present the budget, or for just for us to give you? Okay, well, let me not lead you on the question. What do you have in mind for this meeting?
What I'm thinking is preparing a couple of different scenarios, looking at the millage rate, looking at, do you want to pay down debt? What about reserves? And so on. So then, and a few other things. So if we were to bring you 3 or 4 different scenarios, but then you wanted another one, or so that's what I'm kind of looking at. And it would be great if we could get to the point and say, hey, here are 4 possibilities, and you might say, well, here's 5 and 6, we don't like those, then we can run those numbers, because I know Brenda can do that very, very quickly, and I'm familiar with millage, but she is, she's familiar with Satellite Beach's budget, so.
But do you think for a first pass on that the 28th would work?
That's what she's saying. She won't know until tomorrow.
Yeah, I won't know. Can I email council and say, hey, boy, this really, I'm being positive here, this is fantastic, we can do this, next week. So, I can do that by the end of the day, I'll know.
That's fine.
How does that
That's
sound?
fine with me.
Okay.
And do a backup day?
And I think too, some of the information that's going to be presented to us on the 27th is going to come into play.
It will.
Yeah, very
Definitely.
important. Very important.
But that's going to be a long meeting, because as the mayor and I discussed today, are you going to also be talking about the fiscal health of the CRA? See, that's going to be a long deal then, because you're going to have that presentation, and then you're going to also be discussing what are we going to do with the AG? You indicated, council indicated that they wanted to bring this to conclusion, and if that's it, that's going to be a lot of discussion, I would think. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. I agree, because we do want to get it done.
That's up to you.
Well, the council would like to at least have a first shot on the 28th. It doesn't have to, the package, the budget package is this big. I don't think we're expecting that. What we're expecting is, you want some direction from us.
Correct.
But you're not going to give us this.
No.
Probably just, hey, the millage rate at 8.3 or 8.1.
And if it isn't 8.3, what if it's 8.1? What if it's 8.4 and you want to do something else here? Are you thinking of maybe budgeting in the Beachcaster? I mean, you've got some issues here that are up for discussion.
Well, I like the way, though, that you're planning on approaching it, kind of the 30,000 foot, here are 3 different options
Right.
that I came up with as your CEO
Right.
to the board.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? And then
Exactly.
we can massage it from there.
Exactly.
I think that's great.
Okay.
That's the way to approach it. Yeah.
That's good. If we can do it on the 28th, I think so.
Okay, and I will let you all know,
Yeah.
before the end of the day. Does that sound good?
And you're set up with email and everything already?
Yes.
Okay, good.
E.C. Nielsen at satellitebeach.org.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Is that at 6?
we'll do it at 6. Well, we don't know if we're going to do it, but if we do it, we'll do it at 6. So we'll know more tomorrow. So now you have something else on your plate.
I certainly do.
Thank you. That's good. All right. Agenda items for next regular council meeting. Agenda item number 14. Next regular council meeting is July 18th. But before then, we'll have a CRA meeting, and we'll have some sort of budget meeting at some time. So, there doesn't look like there's anything on here. And Ann, I would ask you, usually we come to you, you would say,
Well, flip the
whatever
page.
we've come up with tonight,
Right.
plus other things.
Right.
Anything that we've discussed tonight that you can remember that we should put on there, it'll be on there.
Mhm.
I think the first thing was going to be the personnel policy, right?
That's a lot, she's, see, men think different than women. She's laughing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot of work to come up to do between now and the 18th. I do have a question before we
Yes.
get into dissecting these future agenda items. Jim, any update on Cinnamon Court? Maybe that can come off the list.
And I thought that was completed.
No, he wasn't going to be in town for this meeting, so we
The vacation?
pushed it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in communication. I would think it'll be ready for the next meeting.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean,
All is going well?
definitely, yeah, I don't see
Okay.
any reason why it wouldn't be for
Okay.
that, yes.
Lenore, you had something?
Stormwater will be added, stormwater utility for the July 18th meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Just to let you know.
Stormwater. We usually do that earlier. Is that on purpose, or we had like a meeting at?
We don't have to do the 2 resolutions, we can do it one fall swoop because there's not going to be anything that we can pursue right now.
Okay. Okay, so we can do that.
And then hopefully Cinnamon Court, and just, there was potential vacation of a portion of a right-of-way that the city council approved, and hope it'll just be a cookie-cutter stamped approval by Jim. If it happens, it's great. If not, we'll move it to the next one.
I think number 7, budget issues, is just laid in there, but if we discuss it on the 28th, I think that's going to be a big ticket item,
Right.
more than just budget issues. It'll probably be
The majority of the meeting.
Yeah, it'll probably be 2012, 2013 budgets. So, I mean, would be, you know, what you gathered from the 28th, come back at that meeting. So that might be a big part of that meeting.
And if I heard Jim LaRue correctly, the public hearing for, is that right?
He said July or August?
July.
I'm pretty sure it's July.
I don't think the public hearing will be during the council meeting, so I think
I took that to mean it was going to be a
Separate meeting?
Usually a separate
All right.
meeting, right. Okay, I'm sure that in the next, that these will add.
Right, and of course, all council members have to do is let me know any other agenda items, and
Okay, we'll do it.
Councilwoman Dean, you had mentioned earlier that there was some of these that you had been waiting on for a while. Are there any?
Yeah, what I'll do, a lot of them have dropped off this list for whatever reason, so I'll sit with Ann and go over and make sure they're added back on to the list.
I'd like to discuss council procedures. Those
Do it again.
Well, because we had a couple of things on there, the number of minutes, but also citizens' comments that we added tonight. I think we should just discuss it.
Okay.
There's about 6 items on there that we had.
Yeah, it dropped off, I think, at one of the meetings before, too.
One thing I have for the council is, since we're doing the next, I am supposed to go to the League of Cities dinner on July 9th. I will not be in town. Is anyone available and would like to go? It's a board meeting and a dinner. I don't know where it is. I'm sorry, it may be Rockwood.
Yeah, you could probably go.
Would you like to go?
Sounds like I want to make sure I'm in town. I think I'm in town. There's a lot of times we go to town that week. But
I'll send you the.
We used to go to Atlanta for a week. July this week after. Yeah, I should be able to go.
Thank you. I'll send you the information.
Okay.
It's school shirts. Okay. All right. Agenda item number 15, adoption of minutes, May 11th, special meeting, and May 16th.
Due to the transition, I did not provide you with May 16th.
Okay, so May 11th is what we have. You are also working on special meeting too, because we didn't approve those.
No, there's a lot.
Okay.
Still a lot.
Okay, thanks, Lenore. All right.
I read them, I didn't have an issue. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of May 11th, 2012. As written.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Billin, second by Vice Mayor Rhodes. All right, Lenore?
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman French?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilman Bowman?
Yes.
Mayor Bronte?
Yes, and that's approved. Ann, any last comments?
I think I'm all talked out.
Jim?
My only question is in light of the fact that my understanding is next Wednesday meeting is primarily going to be a presentation by CGA, whether council wants me at next week's meeting.
Right. I would say usually yes, but I will tell you that the law budget is expended. So maybe.
See you next year.
Jim?
But I just want to ask the question because I know it's a CRA meeting, quote unquote, but my
I think it's
understanding is
more of a
primarily
presentation.
just a CGA presentation. Otherwise, I would assume I need to be there, but that's why I'm asking the question.
I think it's
It's up
okay.
to council, but just.
We need to see, Jim. There's 7 of us. So, no, you don't have to come.
Oh, man.
Thank you. Good luck. All right, anybody got anything else, Lenore? All right, let's go home. Thank you, meeting's adjourned.
What? Oh,
Uh-oh.